Wolf Pack, what is going on? It's your boy, the Wolf of Road Street. RoadStreetJournal.com, we breed and feed you fantasy wolves. Debuting for the first time, the RSJ Morning Show. Trying something new this summer. Always love going live. It's probably my favorite thing to do in fantasy. And now we're going to test drive. Can we go for a few hours? So we got hour one, joined by my man Mo. We're going to talk about my guys, the highest exposed guys. Who have I put my most hard-earned money down on in best ball so far? Who are the guys I cannot leave drafts without, which will carry, of course, over into redraft as well. So you'll learn about who are some of my favorite picks right now in both best ball and redraft. Hour two, the Truth is going to join me. And he's like many people out there where 4th of July comes and you finally like, okay, I can feel the fantasy in the air. He's not as psycho as me and Mo and these people drafting in like February when the Super Bowl's over. So a lot of people just kind of wake up right around the 4th of July and they're just wondering, what did I miss? What's happened so far this offseason? So we're going to do a quick crash course as well. He's prepared 10 questions. I have no idea what they are. We're just going to go off the cuff, no preparation on my end, and just see what he has for me. What is he wondering about from this offseason? Will be hour two. Of course, we'll be hitting your mailbag in between the segments and at the end of the show. So if you have any questions, let me know and toss them on in there. But my man Mo, it's great to see you. It's been a minute since we recorded live together. How's everything going?
Good. We haven't recorded since before the NFL draft.
Wow.
Our last stream together was a big board. Obviously, a lot has happened. Darren Waller has unretired.
Biggest news of the day.
Is back with his close personal friend, Arthur Smith. I mean, that's the news from the last couple of days, but it's been a fun summer so far. Like you said, it's really starting to ramp up here. Back when I was much younger, still pretty young, but much younger, 4th of July was my deadline for fantasy football. But the last 4 or 5 years, it gets pushed up seemingly every single year to the point where we're now drafting teams a week after the Super Bowl wraps up. So can't complain. But like you said, I wish I could stick around to hear what the Truth's wondering, but we'll make the most of it here. Ripping through some of your exposures, some of your my guys, talking about how the drafting's going so far. So how do you want to do this? You want me to just go through all the guys that I think might be atop the Wolves exposure charts, and then we can go through them?
Sure, yeah, I have mine right here. I'm not going to share them quite yet because I want Mo to kind of guess. I thought it'd be a fun exercise. Before we do, I love that you're like, yeah, now that I've grown up, I've really started to draft fantasy football in like February. You know, back when I was an immature kid, I used to wait till the 4th of July. Like, yo, what a sign of a mature adult you're becoming.
Very mature, very adult. Well beyond my years drafting fantasy football teams and burning my money, throwing it at best ball this summer.
Exactly.
But all right, let's just get going.
Perfect. I know I wanted to figure out a way to like block the names and then like have you like reveal the names like one by one as you get them. But honestly, I'm just not that skilled with the photo graphics here. So we'll go position by position. Why don't you start at quarterback? Who are some guys you guess the Wolf is most exposed to at the quarterback position?
Okay, I think that there's a total free square. I think so because of where he goes on the board, just relative to some other players, I think it's understandable if you have a tight end that he goes nearby at like 20-30%, but you have to be at least 18, 20, 25% on this guy, in my opinion. And that's Jalen Hurts. Going at the 4-5 turn, I would be shocked and disappointed if you're not at a minimum overweight on this guy. And just given how high he goes up, or not even really that high. I mean, just kind of considering the fact he's in that upper tier, upper echelon of quarterbacks, it's understandable if you can't get to that 20-25%, but just like he's not as accessible as some of the late round quarterbacks where you can justify grabbing them 10 picks ahead of ADP. But it is Jalen Hurts among your top 4 or 5 most drafted quarterbacks.
Mo, phenomenal guess. Although I will say this, and I'll kind of reveal my 5th and 6th most drafted quarterbacks in the process. I love the Jalen Hurts price tag. I'm fully with you. I think round 5 is way too cheap for the upside you're getting. The guy, this is where he was going before he broke out. And then he broke out and he won the Super Bowl and he's just showing tush push is still there. I'm fully there. I actually just looked. I'm pretty underweight on Jalen Hurts, and I do want to bump those bags. I have 2 reasons. One of them you already kind of alluded to, a tight end. There's a guy that was going right in the same range. He's been pulled up a little bit, still drafting him. I have a huge exposure to that guy that was going in round 5. But the other reason is I've actually – all the talk is this quarterback window, and you got to wait till like 9 and 12. And it is a great window. There's a lot of those guys. I have some in there in my top 5. I've been hammering round 4 quarterbacks, elite quarterback. I think that's a one way to zag where everyone's zigging. And my 6th highest owned quarterback is Lamar Jackson at 15%. And my 5th is Jaden Daniels at 16%. So consequently, that does bump me down a little bit out of Jalen Hurts. If I've been loading up, so much on those guys, I don't have a ton of Jalen Hurts teams. I have about 6% right now. Still have about $200 invested in the guy. I love the play. I think he's a great pick, but it's more so I've either taken my quarterback already and then somebody else in round 5 has been catching my interest over him, which you've already gotten. We could jump to tight ends if we want to in just a second. But I have Lamar 6 and then I have Jaden Daniels in the 5th. I think that is, especially when I get like anywhere from 9 to 12, bottom of the draft, I'm scooping one of those guys, Josh Allen, Lamar, or Jaden Daniels every single time. I think it is going to be an enormous edge. And the other edge I think you can gain with that is, especially in best ball, most teams that draft that early capital and quarterback aren't going to go 3 QB builds. And I don't every single time, but I'm not saying I won't draft Trevor Lawrence if he falls like an extra round of value as a third quarterback on a build with those guys too. So I just think in a half PPR, especially format, those guys are going so underappreciated, 30-plus spike week opportunities, plus just consistent. You're going to get 370 points from the guys as long as they stay healthy. So not Hurts, but you're on the right mindset of like I am dipping into the elite QB tier, but I'm going actually a little bit earlier than Hurts.
One last quick hitter on Hurts. I don't see a world where he attempts 25 forward passes a game next year. Like I do think that this defense is going to get worse. Some not like it's not they're not going to be bad by any means, but not just as absurdly dominant as they were. Where Jalen, I think I saw a stat the other day between like week 6, it was like 14 games, including their playoff run. He attempted only 45 passes while they were trailing for the last like 10 weeks of the season or something like that, including the playoffs. Crazy. So it's absolutely ridiculous in terms of the pass volume there. So I'm scooping him up. But one of the other
thing too with that is they are saying that the new offensive coordinator, the name just slipped my mind. He's coming in more balanced though, right from the jump. Like even if the defense was exactly as good as it was, they've just been winging it around a bit more at OTAs, a little bit more opened up of an offense. AJ Brown was raving about him. Goddard was saying this, I came back and very excited to see how often we're throwing it. So I do think there's great reason that maybe Hurts should be in my highest exposed quarterbacks. Not quite yet. Am I crazy to be investing that early capital, 4th round, early 4th in these quarterbacks, do you think, before we guess a couple more and move on to the other positions?
No. I think like we've talked for the last couple of years about Josh Allen, but I think Lamar and Jaden Daniels should be QB 1 and 2. Just the youth of Jaden and the fact that we now have seen that 40 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and 900 yards on the ground is in the range of outcomes for Lamar Jackson. I mean, fresh off the best fantasy football season of all time from a quarterback.
Yes.
So yeah,
and you're getting him in round 4. I don't understand that. Like, and I only see more upside. Like you said with Hurts, if the defense just takes another step backwards, we saw that last year where they had a few of those games with the Bengals where it's just like your Bengals, 35-30. It's just insane shootouts. I'm fully there. So I will say my next 3, and we're not going to spend tons of time on every single position like this, but my next 3 all go, I would say. I have 4 more. So you got my 5th and 6th. The top 4 guys here, none go before round 10. Most of them go around round 11 to round 13, I would say. So take a stab at toss 5 names out at me and let me see if you get them.
Okay, you have to have JJ McCarthy on there.
I reveal where he is. He is in there.
I'm gonna guess number 2.
Number 1.
Number 1. Yeah. I knew
26%, Mo. 26%. I'm all in on JJ McCarthy.
I saw that one coming.
You knew it.
I want to say you're probably in. So after round 11, I want to say you're probably in on Stroud. I want to be in on Stroud. I mean, I think that the offensive line is getting better. You get Bobby Slowick out of there, and the narrative around Slowick just insane between this summer and last summer. Just how everyone views him. But that last year was a total dumpster fire. I mean, they were bottom 10 in early down pass rate last season. I know he's compensating for just heinous offensive line play, but I do like Stroud at cost this year. And then the other name I am going to throw out there is Trevor Lawrence. He holds a very special place in my heart as the guy that I will never give up on. And just like the upgraded weapons, Liam Cohen coming in. I know you're 100% a Liam Cohen believer after last year. So a couple of pocket passers, nobody that's going to be getting up and running around each and every week. But I do think that those are two names that might be appealing to you.
You nailed a few of them. So JJ McCarthy, like I said, right off the jump, my highest exposed quarterback, 26%. You can't beat the cost. Kevin O'Connell, quarterback, has ranked top 4 in pass yards, pass attempts, pass touchdowns, all 3 years calling plays. Doesn't matter if it's Mullins, Dobbs. Love JJ McCarthy. Love the price. Love the stacks. I love Addison. I don't want to give away too many of my highest exposed other guys here. But you can just do so much with McCarthy. And the bye week in 6 is just like there's no one else really on bye that I worry about then. So I love that. Trevor Lawrence is my 7th, so he's right there on the fringe. I do believe in Liam Cohen. I'm not letting a Duval, said in a weird way, discount it. Justin Fields is right there as well. But actually, surprisingly, in my rounding it out, so Jane Daniels 5, number 4 is Bo Nix. I know he's in that early end of the quarterback window. You kind of have like everyone saying you got to wait till the end where you're getting the Drake Mays and the JJs, and I like that too. I get it. It's kind of hard to take the first guy, right? But I love kicking it off with Bo Nix and getting the quarterback run going. I really do see, one, he had 4 30-point games last year as a rookie. So already we've seen the upside. And now you add in Evan Ingram, a nice tight end weapon, the Joker role, explosive run game now with RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins stabilizing that offense, a great offensive line, just a year 2 leap. I'm all in on him becoming kind of that next Drew Brees for Sean Payton. And I've loved just doing Broncos stacks. It's worked out just tremendously every time I go after it. So I like Bo Nix. He's my quarterback 4 right now in exposure. And then I've got Tua actually at 3. And I've got a nice 17% of Tua because I've been hammering it. And now it's looking pretty good. Tyreek Hill in round 3, I still don't understand. Like that one just has made no sense to me. I get it. Maybe he's washed. But if he isn't, you're getting a top 5 pick. If that wrist injury really was lingering, I mean, it's going to be insane what this guy does for your team in round 3. And oftentimes as my wide receiver 2 or even 3, if I start receiver, then the risk is even more mitigated. So I've ended up just landing on a ton of Tua. It's an interesting bet. I think the line still sucks, so I'm worried about that. But ultimately, should this line play even half better or Tyreek get healthier and just Tua stays healthy for the season? A lot of ifs there. But it was just 2 years ago where it was, Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle feeding families with the double stacks. In 2022, Mike McDaniel was the offensive genius. Everything was swimming. So could they return to that at significantly reduced prices? That's a bet I am going to make. And my number 2 is Jordan Love, actually, for the Packers. I think he is so underrated right now. I have him at quarterback 8. And he goes at like quarterback 16, I want to say. He's going all the way into, sometimes you can push him to 140s if you see where the Golden and Reed guy are. No one's going to take him unstacked, so it seems. And so you can really, I sometimes do think at the Tucker Kraft later. I love betting on this offense. Just 2 seasons ago when he was fully healthy, they were rated towards the top of the league in pass rate over expectation. In his 5 healthy games last year, they were top 3 in pass rate over expectation. He's just a couple seasons removed from a top 7 quarterback season. I think the Packers' aerial game is going to get to the best we've seen it in a long time. And I believe in LaFleur. I believe in Jordan Love. And so he is my second highest. And, of course, as we said, JJ is the top dog. Those are, again, JJ McCarthy, Jordan Love, Tua, Bo Nix, Jane Daniels, Lamar, and Fields, Trevor Lawrence. That's kind of like the top 7 there of the must-draft QBs. Any comments on any of those guys before we move to the running backs?
The only one I can't get behind is Nix. Following him throughout the season, just kind of writing about what he was up to, how he was producing his points. Like the fall off in rushing production down the stretch was very strange and concerning to me. Perhaps there's someone with more elite actual ball knowledge than myself that could provide an explanation about like the change in the offensive philosophy from a play calling perspective or something. But it's undeniable that the rushing production kind of fell off a cliff. I'm not a huge fan of the weapons. I think that Pat Bryant is a good pick. I've never been the biggest Cortland Sutton guy. And Evan Ingram is Evan Ingram. He's gonna get you for 8 yards in a cloud of dust, right at the sticks. So we'll see what happens. It's just the question that I can't answer for myself is this guy gonna run like we saw for the first 8 weeks of the year last year? And as of now, I'm leaning towards no, but that's a whole nother can of worms. We can jump over to the running backs here.
Perfect. Yeah, I just pulled this up. I'm gonna kind of alternate with this on and off because we're playing the guessing game, of course. So you guys can just again see if you're live with us on YouTube who I have as the highest guys. I will remove it though because we are moving to the running back position. And I wonder how you're gonna do with this one. So let's see what you got. It's a mix. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna have you guess because if I give any hints right now. A lot of my highest owned running backs follow a similar trend. You might already know what that is. And it's not Gus Edwards, I promise, after last year. And it's not a hideous, ugly. Last year completely wiped the plotters for me. What you get, what you win type of arguments. Like, what was I even thinking? If Gus Edwards won, maybe I stumbled into 12 touchdowns, but 500 yards with him and just gross. So I've completely abandoned that. I'll just give you that preface. There's only really one or two kind of ugly running backs in my top exposures. But who do you think's at the top?
Okay, so the free square, just from following you on Twitter, is Jaden Blue.
Yeah, I knew you were going to get that one. That was pretty obvious.
The
question is, Mo, how invested do you think I am? What percent of Jaden Blue do you think I have? He is my number one. I will give you that.
Okay, so knowing it's your number one, I got to think it's hovering around 25%. Yeah.
You're going to kill me because you're going to say this
I hope it's not higher than 30.
Well, I'm at 57% Jaden.
Oh my god!
And that's not over a small amount of drafts. That is a lot. In the best ball big board, way before even the draft, he was my last round pick nearly every time. This isn't counting those though. This is after he's been drafted by the Cowboys. I've taken him in well over half of my drafts. I can't get enough of the guy. 140-ish. His price keeps dropping. I'm going to keep just chasing him down, chasing him up wherever he goes. It's a slam dunk. Who do you compete with? Javonte, Miles Sanders? Give me a break. If you win this bet, and I know it's a big if, but if you win the bet, I tweeted out the other day, I consider him diet Jahmyr Gibbs. 4.29 speed at his pro day, 4.38 speed with a bad hamstring apparently at the combine. I know you need more than speed to play running back, and he's certainly not Jahmyr Gibbs as a runner or a creator. I understand that. But the guy is a pass catcher, and he's electric. And when you get him in space, he can take it the distance. He had a 77-yard touchdown last year. He had 14 touchdowns on right around 220 total touches last year. Probably not going to be the feature back. I get it, but you're not paying a feature back price. And again, the competition's so pathetic that if he does become the 55% guy there, and I don't think that's a hard job to do. And they took him over Giddens. They took him over Ollie Gordon. They took him over these guys that could have been your more typical big back. So ultimately, I think Jaden Blue is the biggest smash we've had maybe in all the years I've drafted right now. To me, it is just a no-brainer. No-brainer. Jaden Blue every single draft pretty much. And sometimes he falls 150s now. So I know he's don't tell me you have more than 30%. I have 57%, Mo. And if I'm wrong, it's okay. It's a 12th rounder. There are some valuable guys there. Don't get me wrong. But there's no one in that range that if you're right, you're getting the value that you get with Jaden Blue is how I look at it.
Yeah, I will not advise anyone to draft 57% Jaden Blue. I can promise you that. But I get the line of thinking. The line of thinking that gets you to 57%, I do not. But let's just keep rolling here before I get a little.
My next guy's at 35% too, Mo. So I'm being a little irresponsible so far with my running backs. We got.
I think 35 is defensible.
26, 21, and 16 for the top guys. So continue forward though.
Okay, as long as you weren't burned by the likes of Javonte, Estime. I know you had a ton of Estime last year. As long as you weren't too terribly burned by those guys last year, I do think RJ Harvey's in there. That's just an easy Wolf click, second round, legitimate draft capital, entering an intriguing offense. I already know you're bought into the offense with Bo Nix, so I feel like that's another easy one.
So I'm going to give you 2-for-1 special here. RJ Harvey is My fifth highest exposed running back, 26% in love with him. And you wrote about the Denver Broncos backfield, so you know these stats as well as me, but it's something along the lines of 12 of 17 years, like top 2 in total backfield production, top 2 in expected receiving production, most often 1. Even last year, I think they were top 3 in like target shares to running backs with absolute garbage playing the position. So yes, I am 100% in on the Broncos backfield, including Harvey at 26.5%. And including J.K. Dobbins at 32%, my third highest running back. Now, I had him at 42%, and that was before he got signed by the Broncos, because I was just like, what if he goes to the Bears? Broncos, honestly, just as good, in my opinion, because of how Sean Payton has used these committees so many years. I want to say 7 different times he's had 2 top 24 running backs. The other year he had 3 top 24 running backs. So I love Dobbins. I love Harvey. Both those guys are in my top 5 exposed. Obviously come down on Dobbins since 32% now compared to the 42% he was before he signed. He was going 180s, 190s back then. Now up in like the 120s. Still a smash in my opinion. Kind of I see a Mark Ingram and Dobbins. I see a Alvin Kamara and Harvey. Plus, I'm sure you've seen the thigh picture. You know me and running backs with those thighs. Come on now. So RJ Harvey. Yes, both of those, you're right on them. Both those guys are Wolf guys. So you got your third, my fifth, and my number 1 out of the way. Can you get number 2 and number 4?
Okay, I don't think that you'd be aggressive enough to take a stand like this in the first 2 rounds. So,
no.
Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere coming out of there.
Can I tell you one, though, that I am trying to not get into, maybe get up to like 17 to 20 in the first 2 rounds? I kind of had just like dream the other night, and it just made sense to me. I want to go all in on Jonathan Taylor. He seems to me kind of like Saquon last year, where it's like, I know he's on the same team, so it's not this complete overhaul. And I know Daniel Jones isn't like the sudden savior, but to me, the Colts just one, he just down the stretch last year, like 30 points in 3 straight games, and your playoffs are the most valuable guy if you somehow got there with him. The offensive line's top 10. I do think Daniel Jones does change the offense so that he gets a lot more dink and dunk and makes it nice and steady. That's the guy that I don't understand why he falls to the end of round 2. I think he should be going right at the beginning of round 2. So I am starting to creep him into, like, if I'm at 15 or so, just hammering JT. So yeah, wanted to toss him in there as like the early round guy that's all in there. But you are right. There's nobody that early. These next guys are all kind of towards the middle to late rounds for sure.
Okay, so this might be a little too early, and this one's a little bit of a shot in the dark, but it is just someone that I really like at cost, and it's Kenneth Walker. I know that there's some serious questions about what this offense is going to look like, but I know for a fact that you liked what you saw out of Clint Kubiak in New Orleans last season, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some knowledgeable rushing scheme guy, but everything I've read from people smarter than myself is that this is going to be favorable for Kenneth Walker in terms of what Clint Kubiak's rushing scheme is bringing to the table in Seattle. And last year we just saw, obviously there's a quarterback change and an offensive scheme changes. Everything's changing, but we saw heavy usage for him as a receiver at times last year. So it's half PPR, but it's still appealing to me. I do think that Kenneth Walker is one of my favorite picks in that dead zone-y kind of range of the draft.
100%. He's not in my top 5. He's number 8, actually, right on the cusp. And I think the only reason, everything you outlined is great. Love Kubiak. I mean, even before you were probably born, my man, like there was Shanahan and Gary Kubiak, his dad, were like making Mike Anderson like 2,000-yard rushers. These nobodies. And if you had a talent like, Terrell Davis or Arian Foster, you'd get almost 2,000 yards a season. I think Kenneth Walker, should he stay healthy, I know that's the big bugaboo, but he's as talented of a back as we've seen in this offense, certainly from a breakaway perspective. It's all about getting a nice lane for your runner and they one cut and go. He can accelerate with the best of them. So I love Ken Walker. I love the fit. The only reason he's not higher is because I have a ton of RJ Harvey, but lately I've been kind of veering to Kenneth Walker. I try to balance that out a little bit. I'd love him to be in my top 5 by the end of this offseason. So you're right there. My guy. But no, I'll tell you this too. The next 2 in my top 5 are both rookies. So I'll give you that hint. And that's kind of my overlying philosophy is I just love this rookie class and I love the prices. And I think by midseason, so many years, we talked at length last year, Mo, about how rookie receivers, the back-weighted upside, and it's so true and it's still true. I think that we're going to see this year is like it's going to actually be the rookie running backs that end up by mid-year taking over some of these backfields and just going absolutely bananas for stretch runs. So that, I know it's a big hint, but who are a couple rookie runners you could see as a Wolf type of guy.
So I can't get myself behind Cam Scatabo. That's not going to be my guess. Or Cam Scatabo. That's not going to be my guess.
He's 7, just as a heads up. So
Okay.
he's there, but not fully there.
Okay. Like, knowing that it's rookies, I was debating on whether or not to just throw this name out there anyways. I feel like you've jumped aboard with me on the Travis Etienne isn't that good. He is just a volume-driven running back thing.
The train, Mo, I've been the conductor of that. I think Etienne blows. I've never been an Etienne guy. Me and you, I know Duck kind of got us.
Duck spoiled it for everyone.
One year he had just a volume-driven, solid campaign. He's not that good. You're on the right path. Let's put it that way.
So Tootin, I was thinking about saying that anyways. It just seems like a pick you would make regardless. So yeah, we don't have to talk about that one a ton. Everyone who's plugged into fantasy football for the last couple of weeks, I mean, yeah, he's a uber athlete. The people in front of him aren't good. Upgraded offensive scheme. I don't know if there's another key talking point you wanna hit on there, but
I think you mentioned Liam Cohen already for the Jags, and we saw what he did for the Bucs backfield last year. Both Bucky and Rachaad White were fantasy beasts throughout the season. I believe they were top 3 in total XFP for that backfield. And just what did he see in Bucky Irving that he loved? Missed tackles forced per attempt. Bashal Tootin was like the best in this class at that as well. And then you mix in 4.3 speed. That was the one thing Bucky didn't have, was once he got out there, could he break the long one? No, that's the one thing going against Bucky. I love Bucky Irving. Don't get me wrong. He's my highest exposed running back last year. But Bashal Tootin does what Bucky Irving did and then can break the long one. He's not as good of a pure runner and creator as Bucky. I'm not going to say that, but he does break tackles with the best of them. And Liam Cohen is so good at getting his backs involved in space and in the screen game that I think Tootin's just going to be ripping long play after long play. And I don't believe in Travis Etienne. So yes, he's my second highest at 35%. Love Bashal Tootin. And number 4 is a last round dart throw. So I don't know if you'll know you'll know who this guy is, but it's a tougher guess. We're talking at the end of the draft. You know, I was Tank Dell a couple years ago. I was like, I'm clicking this guy no matter what. That's kind of become this guy for me. If he's there, I'm taking him no matter what in every last round.
So I had a guy in mind before you said that, and he does happen to fall in this range. So I'm just going to keep going with him. And I think it's in a similar vein as the Tootin bet. You're kind of just trying to find ways to maybe take advantage of a guy that people don't like as much and think is not as good of a running back. So I'm going to go with Jarquez Hunter here. I don't know if that's the right answer, but just kind of the discourse around Kyron Williams is that he's just not that good. It's just he's a good running back, but he's not a good runner is what the idea is. That might not be right, but I do think that just given how you've approached some of these other guys, I feel like he could fit in there.
He's a good toss-out for sure. I do believe in Kyron a little more, and even if I don't love Kyron the player, even though I do, 2 years ago he was another one of my guys and really helped me in best ball. I still think whether I love him or not, Sean McVay loves and trusts him. And so I do like Jarquez Hunter. I think he's going to bring a new spice to that game. And Sean McVay raved about him when they picked him. But you haven't been with RJ long enough, Mo, to know my love for Jerick McKinnon. And so I'd see Brashard Smith enter that roster. And I think he's their next Jerick McKinnon. He's already catching 50-yard bombs down the field for Mahomes on wheel routes, already sprinkling in with the first team quite often. And another guy with that 4.39. That's a common trend here between Blue, Tootin, Brashard Smith, RJ Harvey. Sub 4.4 speed in offenses that have players ahead of them, but not like insane talents to beat out, especially with Blue. Like there's nobody in front of him. So I love just this rookie class in general, but I especially love the speedy guys and the coordinators that took them and how they used to manufacture touchers in space for the backs. Nobody better at that than Andy Reid. So I could see Brashard Smith being a legit weapon. Never mind the fact that his first season as a running back, he rushed for like 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns on 230 carries. Looked phenomenal. So I am a huge Brashard Smith fan. In general, as you can kind of see now, as I pulled up my exposed running backs, it's the year of the rookie running back. Blue, Tootin, Smith, Harvey, Scatabo. 4 of my top 7 guys, or top 6 guys even, are those rookies. And then the only non-rookies are Dobbins, who I love. A lot of it was heavy exposure before he got signed. I think it's a beautiful spot, even with the price increase. And Rachaad White is that kind of like Gus Edwards, crusty guy that's sitting there.
He's a good pick. He's a good
at
pick.
The end of drafts. So, or at that like 140 range. So I had to get one of them in there.
No, Rachaad White's a good pick.
Really? I thought you were going to bash me for that one.
No, I think he's a great pick. I mean, like he can do everything on the football field. He's a 3-down back. Like I get it. He's like not that good, but it's a 12th round pick. He's a 3-down back, and like he's still going to be on the field. The 5'7" or whatever he is, Bucky Irving, is not going to play 80% of snaps. Like it's going to be 65-35. 70-30, but he's going to be on the field. Like you might be able to rack up enough catches to get some usable weeks. And then the contingent value, like I know people want to invoke the name Sean Tucker, but I mean, we haven't seen anything out of this guy except for that one game where I believe it was White who was injured against the Saints, where Tucker just went bananas. And then they said, we're going to have a 3-headed monster, and didn't use him. So I do think that if something happens to Irving, it's easy 70% snap share for this guy. So I do think it's a good pick, but I don't think we need to spend too much time discussing Rachaad White because most people cannot stand that guy. You ready to jump over to the wide receivers here?
Do pass catchers, baby. Let's see who you got.
Yeah.
This is tougher too, by the way, because there's so many pass catchers. So, and I'll give you a hint. The top 3 are kind of crusty. Like they're not guys you'd be like, oh my God. So it's even the top 4. I'll go out and say like you'd be surprised that they're the highest. It's just in terms of like the price. These are later guys. I'd say all these guys come after 140 or so for the top 4. So there's nothing too exciting there. And then the next like 3 or 4, a little more explosive. And then I'll go over a couple of the guys like in the early rounds who have my biggest stances on too. So feel free to attack it from whatever way, like whether you want to go for the guys that you think in the early rounds I'm into, or if you want to use that hint for the top 4 being like all after 150 and try to pick out some of those names I'm after, let me know.
Okay, so crusty guys who go after 140. So I'm just going to rattle off a couple of names that I think you could be interested in. I could be way off base here, but I think Hollywood's an interesting pick. I've drafted a chunk of him just because I do think that I could be completely disillusioned in saying this, that I do think the Chiefs offense could return to form in some capacity. Just last year was a disaster injury wise. And they just had to basically reinvent themselves as they went along. So I do think Hollywood Brown's an interesting name there. Another one that I think is of note is Adam Thielen. I know that Ted McMillan is in the building, but just kind of buying into the narrative that Dave Canales is going to have this and Bryce Young are going to have this offense taking a further leap. You could be selling yourself on Jalen Coker. I know people within the RSJ walls are very, very big Coke heads, but I do think Adam Thielen is going to have the opportunity at a minimum to control that slot role. And I do think he is a solid floor pick as always at wide receiver, like 70 in the 14th round, as another one of those interesting guys. Another veteran that I do not think you should be drafting whatsoever, no matter how low his price gets, is DeAndre Hopkins. I just want to throw that one out there. Yes. I think that is a terrible, terrible, terrible pick. But those are like the only 2 names that kind of jump off the page as like older guys who I think could be a worthwhile pick in like the round 14 to 17. Like maybe you're buying into Keenan Allen, like signing with a team and having a role, but like Hollywood and Thielen are the only guys going around 12 to like 16 or so that I can see you convincing yourself that are like worthwhile picks.
So Hollywood's a good guess, not in there. Thielen, you nailed. He's number 2 for me in my exposed guys. Starting to fall like the 170s, 180s. Makes no sense to me at all, but I've been in on him even in the 150s, so I'm going to keep drafting him. Last year was the wide receiver 13 from week 13 to the end of the season. Ultimately was a top 30 guy in fantasy points per game in back-to-back season going, as you said, like wide receiver 70 or later. Yes, they added the weapons. Yes, there's young guys that might overtake him. I just see a dependable guy that has good chemistry with Bryce Young that we know Dave Canales loves to use in a slot-friendly role. So I'm big on Adam Thielen. I do think Hollywood Brown's a solid enough bet. You know, you're getting the same bet you made last year, but at 130 instead of the 5th round. So I like that for sure. I guess Krusty was a little misleading in the sense like not all these guys are old. They're just going late and not sexy. One of them being Tutu Atwell, my number 3 highest exposed guy. He's locked up the number 3 role in a Sean Payton offense, so he's going to be out there for 90% plus of the routes and snaps. And so, I think that's a great idea with the tight ends, by the way. I think Tutu Atwell, clear role in a Sean McVay offense. There was not that long ago where we had like Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp all finish in the top 30 receivers. I don't think Tutu Atwell's in that talent conversation. I get it, but it's a great offense. He's going to be on the field all the time. And there's contingent upside. So he's become, if I need a receiver in that last round, like, why not? I love that Monday Night Football game stack as well with the Falcons and Rams to end the season. I love a little action there. What if Tutu goes off for 100 and a touchdown, catches a deep ball in that game? So he's my number 3. Number 1, though, he's not an old guy, so I'll tell you that. But he's just a guy that is going way too late, in my opinion. Perfect for best ball. I don't know that I'd take him in redraft at all. Does that give you any leaning as to who this might be?
So when you say perfect for best ball, that makes me think my inkling is incorrect. But I will just once again, no one jumps to mind. You did mention Jordan Addison earlier. I'm just gonna go with that. You did mention him earlier, and I know you're bought into JJ McCarthy. The perfect for best ball. He goes downfield. Is it Jordan Addison?
He's number 5. So he's like the earliest round receiver that's like in my top 5 for sure. And he's an exciting guy, like you mentioned, with JJ McCarthy. But no, it's Alec Pierce actually is my number 1, which and it's kind of, I heard Karain and BM4 talking about this the other day, where it's like kind of creeps up on you, where you're just hitting this guy at the same last couple rounds and you don't realize you're getting up there in your percentage. That's kind of Alec Pierce, where it's not like I love this guy. But he had 4 weeks last year as a top 12 wide receiver, 20-plus points in those weeks as well. If you get 2 of those weeks in round 16 where he goes, that's paying off the price. So ultimately, one of them came in week 17, 24 points in your fantasy championships last year, the weeks where all the money is involved. So to get that type of upside, again, I know Daniel Jones is more into the dinking and dunking. If he's going to be the guy all year, it probably hurts Pierce more than it helps. But just to say, if you got close to what he did last year, unsustainable touchdown pace, I understand. Was it 40 targets and like 7 touchdowns or something crazy along that nature? I understand that's not going to necessarily go, but he was a solid route runner out of college in Cincinnati there. So who's to say this guy doesn't just take another step in his game and expand it a little bit and is not just a pure deep threat artist too? So even if I'm just making the bet of what he did last year to a lesser degree, knowing there's some regression, I think he's a smash at that price. And it's like nobody can see a world where Alec Pierce takes at least another slight step forward. Josh Downs is always hurt. And I love Josh Downs. Don't get me wrong. I'm drafting a ton of him too. But I love Alec Pierce. I think that price makes no sense. Pure best ball upside in round 16. And Josh Palmer is actually my 4th as well as a potential number 1. I love Khalil Shakir. I think he's a solid enough pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Palmer does just as good as Shakir where he's going, the 150s. So any on those guys, or what do you think?
Yeah, my favorite stat of the 2024 season is that Alec Pierce led the Indianapolis Colts in receiving yards. It's like not like that actionable or like interesting when it comes to not necessarily interesting, but like impactful when it comes to fantasy football. But it's interesting, and it's really shocking to say the least. But I guess just to kind of jump off from there, I'm trying to make up my mind of what to do with Michael Pittman. And I know a lot of people have been talking about this in terms of how do you weigh the potential of him having a broken back last year. I mean, like the guy's going so late, and it's not like we're gonna get like 11 touchdowns out of this guy. It's a volume thing. You're hoping he racks up a bunch of receptions, but I do just still think he's a really good pick in that 8th, 9th round range. You can really, on a lot of these teams, you can scoop him up as your like 4th wide receiver. And you basically know, my wide receiver 4 is going to get at least 120 targets as long as he's on the field for most of the year next year. So it's pretty appealing in terms of the floor. And we've seen him have high-end outcomes, albeit with far, far better quarterback play. So we'll see how things shake out. But the the Michael Pittman click is an easy one for me if I need to grab a wide receiver in that range. And I see the vision with Pierce. It's free. You get a guy who can deliver a usable week on 1 or 2 plays. And you're just hoping that he beats out A.D. Mitchell, and you just didn't see a lot from A.D. Mitchell. I know the guys over at Fantasy Points rave about A.D. Mitchell, just his ability to get open and create separation, but super limited sample size. We don't really know how this coaching staff feels about Mitchell. I mean, to a degree, we know how they do just because he barely got on the field last year. So I see the vision with Pierce. I don't think he's a guy I would personally be taking a huge stand on. But I do think he's a good guy to snag there in the late rounds.
Perfect. Yeah, and I love your Pittman case too. I'm starting to bump him up more and more. He's been working out with Daniel Jones like all offseason, even before Jones was named well, not officially the starter, but likely to be the starter. Those two have been building chemistry. I think he's a great pick as well. I just want at least one Colts receiver nearly every single draft, just like I want nearly one Jags running back, preferably Tootin, in nearly every draft. I think all the Colts pass catchers are underpriced. The last few receivers I'll toss out there. So again, it goes, I'll just pull it up here. I know we're going to get drafting because you got to get going soon enough, but let me pull in the rest of them here. It is so Alec Pierce, Adam Thielen, Tutu Atwell, Josh Palmer, kind of the ugly, but like I love their prices, so I keep scooping them up. Jordan Addison, you nailed, is like the biggest name that is my highest exposed at 5. And then Juwan Jennings is right up there, 27% for me as well. Last year, absolutely feasted, was the wide receiver 25 in points per game, 14.0, 2.26 yards per route run, wide receiver 16, got tons of targets per route run, 25% targets per route run, was wide receiver 12 there, was a huge first down converter. I know it's a big stat that Ryan Heath's been going into, was wide receiver 14 in first down rate there. And it was the wide receiver 16 in PFF grade, but goes as the wide receiver 34, even though Debo's now gone. Ayuk's gone for probably half the season. We saw the 40-point week spike upside. I love Juwan Jennings. I hammer him in late 5th, early 6th. So Juwan Jennings is up there for me. Of course, Marvin Mims is towards the top of the list, as he always was last year. If only we had made to that week 17, he had like 32 points, would have vindicated everything for me. Trey Harris as well. And then the only other big names I wanted to highlight were Garrett Wilson and Mike Evans. It's kind of tough to get 20% plus of an early round receiver. I love the Fields-Wilson connection. I think they're going to just absolutely target spot run. They're going to be like 35% plus for Garrett Wilson. And Evans just always career undervalued, going to the end of round 3, crusty old. He's going to have 1,100 yards. He's going to have 12 touchdowns. And I love just getting that Bucs offense. So those are the other high-owned guys. You want to move to tight end or anything you want to say on any of those guys?
I like the Trey Harris pick.
Yeah.
I have a completely different thought that just comes to my mind because of the Trey Harris pick. Coach Speak Index over on Twitter brought this to my attention. What do you think that Underdog Fantasy has set Mike Williams over under for the year 2025 in terms of total receiving yards?
It's like 99 and a half.
500 yards.
Come on, like under
Insane.
smash.
Insane. I think it's the Trey Harris show on the outside. That guy sucks.
You know I'm a huge Trey Harris believer. We did the early best ball draft, and I think I had like 40% in the early best ball stuff, and now he lands in a gem spot with Justin Herbert. I do think Quentin Johnson's going to block him for a little bit, but ultimately the talent will win out. You knew the stat. What was like 5.0 yards per route run against man coverage or something crazy like that?
Higher.
Is it?
Yeah, against man, it was like 10.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like obviously like super small sample size and just small sample size inflated by a few big plays, but still ridiculous. And his total yards per out run number was floating right there around 5, including routes against zone. So that was pretty ridiculous. But we're about to be on the clock here. We can make this pick and then we can jump over to tight ends. But who's your pick here?
I go Barkley still. I don't understand the Barkley fade. I get it. He probably will regress to the most touches in the league and they never repeat and blah, blah, blah. All the people saying that are also like, yeah, I can't wait to draft Christian McCaffrey, who has missed over half the season in 3 out of 5 years. I don't understand it. Nothing ever seems to make sense in terms of that. So I love Saquon anywhere in the top 3 all about it. So yeah, we'll scoop him. Let's bang out the tight ends before we get to our next pick. I know it's the least valuable position, but you still got to get it right if you're going to win the $2 million prize. You probably already know my top guy, and that's why I didn't have a ton of exposure to Jalen Hurts, is because I've been hammering this guy in that round 4, late 4th, early 5th. You want to say the name?
Yeah, just give your spiel here on George Kittle, because I think it's also one of the best clicks on the board.
Exactly. He's just an absolute stud. Was the number 1 tight end in fantasy, but still going as a tight end 3. And I don't necessarily disagree that he should go behind Bowers and Trey McBride, younger guys with more week-to-week target stability and upside. But he still outscored them last year, and now you remove Debo. In the games he's not had Debo and Purdy's been his quarterback, Kittle's averaged 17.4 points per game. That is like prime Travis Kelce. League winner, was on like 50% of the advance rate teams just a few seasons ago. And I don't see a reason why. Yeah, Jennings will probably go up. Pearsall's going to take on some load. But why couldn't Kittle just become like the main vein of this passing attack? We've seen it happen every time Debo's been out, and Debo's now gone. Ayuk's also now gone. His split in those games would be 80 receptions, nearly 1,300 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Makes no sense to me why this guy, and he's starting to creep up into the early 4th, and I'm still hammering there. He should be much closer to that 2-3 turn where McBride goes, in my opinion. I do think Bowers is another beast, and he's up there for me as well. But ultimately, George Kittle, 25%, had 30% of him in the early best ball drafts as well. So I'm all about him. And then we've got a rookie at number 2. I wonder if you can get the right one.
A rookie. So I remember you tweeted about Oronde Gadsden, but
I do love him, but that's too risky to be by.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's not a best ball pick.
I don't know that I've tweeted about this guy. This is a tricky one. I should probably let people know how much I love him. I didn't realize I had him at number 2, honestly, until right now.
So I want to say, what's the guy's name that they drafted to Seattle?
Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah, it's Elijah Arroyo. That's where my mind went first.
He's up there, freak athlete from Miami. He's in my top 8. But no, he's not the guy. It's actually Mason Taylor over there with the Jets. Getting compared to Sam Laporta by a Lions-inspired scheme right now. I love him, son of Jason Taylor. Zach Thomas is apparently his uncle. You love that. I know we're about to make our pick. And Mo, I don't know if you'd ever be convinced to do it if he falls to us. I love running back starts. I talked about it last year. It ended up being by far the most optimal thing you could do if you did not get Jamar Chase. I love going Taylor and Saquon and then ignoring the position for a while. But if you wanted to go with Tyreek, you wanted to go with T, I could. But I love doing Saquon and Taylor here.
Yeah, that's fine with me. After getting hosed last year, I'm more open to starting running back. I find myself doing it very rarely still, but it's probably smart to just bite the bullet and do it from time to time. For me, most of the time, the pick there is either McBride or Higgins, just with the guys who are on the board. I've always been a Trey McBride guy. I mean, I can't say I've been a Trey McBride guy since he came out in the draft, but since the year he broke out, it's easy to get behind Trey McBride, and I think at this price, it's just another pretty gimme click at that range. But I do think we have to go wide receiver here. I like either Wilson or Devontae.
I love going Wilson. As we talked about, my 6th highest exposed receiver, and I'm happy to keep adding in to that bag. I think the best is yet to come. Somehow, I think you think Aaron Rodgers should be the one that unlocks him, but as soon as Devontae got there, it was back to feeding his boy. I think now he's got his boy here in Justin Fields, who's going to feed him completely. So we'll wrap up our tight end conversation. It goes George Kittle, Mason Taylor, who I think they're going to use as their kind of number 2 weapon in the pass game. Maybe that's Breece Hall. Maybe it's Mason Taylor, who has a Sam Laporta-inspired role, comes from elite athleticism himself, and was very solid at like probably 5 straight kind of old guys, but I just think their prices for what we know they can do is too cheap. So toss a few names at me, and I'll let you know if you get them.
Okay. Two that
value on McBride, by the way. Sorry, it's like late 3rd. Oh my God. Oh, But sorry, continue forward.
No worries. Two names that jump off the page to me for like older guys who I think present some value are David Njoku and Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert, I know he is always hurt. Especially not even last year, just every year he's hurt. But like I talked about before, for me, I've convinced myself that the defense is going to take a step back, and this passing attack is going to be more valuable. We know that he can catch a handful of touchdowns and easily pay off that round 12 price tag. So that's interesting for me. And then David Njoku, like I think Jerry Jeudy is good. I'm not like super invested in him or super interested in him. And then like some people want to like say Cedric Tillman is the greatest late round pick of the year. I think that's all just nonsense. I do think David Njoku is the clear second pass catcher in this offense and in this group. So I think he's another one of those kind of like mid round, like you didn't grab an elite guy, but you need someone who you can feel comfortable with starting here and there, getting usable weeks out of them. So I think those are two of the appealing older names in the middle to late rounds of drafts.
I think both of them are great toss-outs, and both guys I do want to bump my exposure to, especially Njoku. I have very little so far. Now that Flacco's gained some real buzz there, I mean, Njoku was the number one tight end across his starts with Flacco, was legitimately an absolute monster down the stretch, as was Amari Cooper, who's not even in the league anymore. So Flacco's actually their quarterback, which sounds crazy. That would be a huge fantasy boon, though, for David Njoku. So I do like that call. He's somebody I am trying to bump up. I'm going to take the draft board off for just a second to just reveal these guys here. So it goes with my McCarthy stack, but I love Hawkinson, well, especially when he falls into the ninth, like the late 8th, early 9th. It's all great to me. Love it. I want to be able to have a reason to get McCarthy, and sometimes it just ends up being TJ Hawkinson, a year removed from the surgery, so heavily utilized in that game. Kevin O'Connell's always heavily used his tight ends. Then Hunter Henry, I got to get some Drake May love in there. Patriots love. His last season with Josh McDaniels went swimmingly. And so I think Hunter Henry gets right back onto the ship. He's a great pick. Zach Ertz, last year's tight end 8, is just sitting there. Last time we saw him on the field, he had like a 14 target, 10 catch day. It's unsexy. It's boring. Maybe Sinot takes another step. But until then, we know that Cliff Kingsbury's always loved this guy. Evan Ingram kind of pairs off with that Bo Nix one. And then Mark Andrews is kind of the sketchiest one on here, especially if Likely ends up taking over. I know we have our pick. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to pull us back up here. But I just wanted to show off a couple of those veteran names that are up there for me.
For me here, it's Pickens, Waddle, or Hurts.
I like going Smith and then hoping Hurts makes his way back to us.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. I do love Pickens, though, if he doesn't. I don't love the one thing, and we're going to take Smith here. I think it makes sense. We have Saquon, so like a Hurts stack here really makes a ton of sense. I'd be surprised if someone takes him naked, but we shall see. I don't love Smith unless it's the thing that makes it so Hurts falls to me in round 4. I think those two should easily be flipped in ADP, but I do think securing Smith ends up getting us Hurts. And so had we gone Hurts and then Smith, or Smith then Hurts, whatever way gets that combo to you is fine. I don't love Smith, but I do love Hurts. I love this price tag on him. And I think that makes it far more likely he gets to us. The worst, though, is when you click Smith and then Hurts doesn't make it back to you. You're like, now I have this guy that I like but don't love. I passed up on Travis Hunter. I passed up on, some value. Who were a couple of the other guys you were considering, though, there, Mo?
Like I said, the guys I like there are Waddle and Pickens. And for me, it's just like I'm in the same boat as you. Like I just don't love Smith. Yeah, and there goes Hurts.
I'd be down with either Pickens or Waddle here. Whoever you prefer, I'm good with.
I'm gonna go Waddle here, but kind of just jumping back over to the Eagles. Like you said, the Smith is like the one piece of this passing attack I don't really enjoy grabbing, and the reason I'm fine to take Hurts there first. And not try to push Hurts around after grabbing Smith is I don't really care about taking Jalen Hurts naked. Like if or at least with one of the top 2 pass catchers. I mean, like I'm almost always going to prioritize Dallas Goedert after making that Hurts click, but I don't really care if I grab Hurts and I don't have Smith on the team. Like obviously, like you can make the argument like in terms of the EV of your team and getting a stacked a primary stacking partner for your quarterback. But I mean, with Hurts, there's just so many paths to him getting there. I mean, we saw him have, I believe, 3 rushing touchdowns against the Panthers last year.
Yeah.
So he can get there, and we all know it. And obviously, there's other pass catchers. I'm just not. The Hurts is the priority for me. Hurts as the individual is the priority for me, not stacking Jalen Hurts. So I don't care that much about missing out on Smith.
I fully agree. And after watching Hurts just go and feeling that punch to the gut, it's like if Smith had gone, I would have been like, too bad. We don't get to complete the stack.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have felt the gut punch that I felt with Jalen Hurts. So I do think maybe that's in the future how I'll start attacking this. Is I thought it was far more likely we would get Hurts if we took Smith versus the other where we take Hurts and Smith falls back to us. Clearly, that's not what happened, and I do think it's far less painful to miss out on Devonta Smith than it is Jalen Hurts. So I don't mind it at the end of the day because it forced us to get another receiver, and our receivers with 2 running backs at the start could be pretty sketchy. And I do want some more Waddle now that Jonnu Smith is gone. I see no reason why Waddle can't become back into that more intermediate range where he had been for so long. He's just a couple seasons removed from being a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy. And I have almost none of them. I didn't want any of them with Jonnu on the roster, but now Jonnu's gone. I really want to bump those bags up. So I'm glad we got Waddle here as well, a player I don't have a lot of. Yeah, Devonta Smith, a little too bad there that it worked out. We didn't get Hurts. I think you brought up a good point that if it's naked Hurts, whatever. Like that's not a bad thing at all. So yeah, damn. We could have been better here.
Let me backtrack. What are you making of the Titans and just generally the situations in Pittsburgh and Miami now? I guess the jumping off point is where would you consider drafting 33-year-old Darren Waller?
I'll tell you this. I'd take him over either Pittsburgh tight end. I don't want any of Freiermuth, any of Jonnu, nothing to do with either of those guys. Low volume attack, small aerial pie that's now split into too many more mouths. I want nothing to do with it. I guess maybe Metcalf is the only guy I'd consider there, and even then I question if Rodgers will sustain him. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't hate Darren Waller. We got to make our pick here. It's like, do we defend the honor and take Joe Burrow? Probably not naked. I do love Jaden Reed, so that's a fun one for me. I like David Montgomery, but we already have some set running backs. So yeah, I think Reed or Debo. If you're not into the fat Debo, I get it. Reed is totally fine.
It's so hard for me. I put out a tweet about that. Like, I try not to buy into anything before late July in terms of like clips, reports. Like, obviously, like there's some stuff that's valuable, but like the stuff like the Debo clips, I don't buy into that at all ever. But it's so hard. He looked like he was running through quicksand. He looked like he had cement in his shoes. He looked fat. It was just truly, truly heinous stuff. That it's pretty brutal, man.
I know it's tough. I also look at it with the rosier cover glasses to give a counter in that Olamide Zaccheaus was putting up like 15 to 20 point days. Noah Brown had a couple big efforts.
Yeah.
It's like, is Jaden Daniels potentially a kingmaker? Maybe it was just a walkthrough where he really was just dogging it. I get it. When you get a in-shape Debo, there's nothing better. When you get a fat Debo, there's nothing worse. And he didn't look great. Those clips weren't great, but who's to say in a month he doesn't trim down a ton of that? I don't love double stacking Golden and Reed. I almost want to I'd say this might not be a bad Debo stance right here.
That's fine.
If you want to double stack Golden, that's fine. But I feel like this is a good enough value on Debo.
Yeah, that worked for me.
Where, yes, the downside's bad, but the upside is very real. What if McLaurin holds out and now suddenly Debo's the number 1 for Jaden Daniel? Probably not going to happen, but ultimately could. And I'm not going to judge him too harsh on one clip. The clip was ugly. The quicksand looked bad. The gut looked pretty fat. But he's got some time to get in shape here. And a lot of the clips, the backlash from that, I saw a lot of coaches being like, Debo's flying around the place. He looks great. I think he could end up being an absolute smash. And he's a wide receiver 5 at this point. So I get it. And he screwed me in a lot of leagues late last year. But Debo has just always been one of my favorites. And I'm still okay with it.
Last year was such a nightmare. Like I was telling people to trade for him everywhere. And it's just, it just never got on track. And like when they were in good spots, like I don't know if you remember that game against the Bills, like it was a great spot for him to do well, and it's a blizzard, and it's just nothing broke right. If you were if you had Deebo Samuel rostered in any leagues or you were banking on him in best ball, it was just I want to see him succeed, and you can see it, but like I said, like it's just I just can't unsee the picture from the Super Bowl. I can't unsee the clips from the last couple of weeks. It's just real brutal.
Yeah, I know it's not great. I think as a wide receiver 5, I'm okay taking the stab that like Debo gets himself in shape and he's the explosive number 2 in an offense that just generates great yak opportunities. If Zacchaeus, even if he's not in the best of shape, if Zacchaeus can be fantasy relevant, if Noah Brown can be fantasy relevant, a fat Debo can still probably do some damage. And at the red zone, too. I forget who made this argument the other day, but it's like Brian Robinson's their only running back of note. Who's to say Debo doesn't start getting another like 30 to 40 carries like he used to, especially at the goal line? I mean, he looks like a fullback these days, so he can pound up the middle on a couple dives up the gut.
I think Cliff King is very smart enough to bring him in the backfield, but Justin Fields went way ahead of ADP. I was hoping we could set up a stack there, but
too bad. I love the Fields teams.
That it is what it is. Any direction you want to go here positionally?
Want to pull up who's available to us? I don't have a strong leaning here. I don't think we need to go any of those tight ends. I like Pittman here.
That's fine.
And I like Brian Robinson. I like either of those picks.
Pittman's the pick for me between the two. I know I was on Robinson pretty heavily last year, and it was a small win. Like it was without a doubt a win. I just did not like what I saw either on the field or in the box score, in the advanced metrics. It's not a fun pick to make. It's a safe pick, but I don't know. It's not for me this year.
Are you into Jacory Croskett-Merritt at all? Or?
No. I'm just kind of avoiding that backfield. I'm getting my Commanders rushing yards by drafting Jaden Daniels
or drafting Deebo Samuel, the fullback.
Sure. Yeah. Get my 112 Deebo Samuel rushing yards.
Now, at this rate, I like both Mason and I like Jaylen Warren a lot. I think Warren's getting completely slept on. One of the best pass protectors in the league, one of the most efficient backs, year in and year out. So I love going Jaylen Warren here because I think, I do like Caleb Johnson. I know they've raved about him, but ultimately, if he gets, Rodgers gets touched once, they're going to go maybe featured back Jaylen Warren mode. And even if not, even if you get just Jaylen Warren as what he's been the last few years, this is a good range to get him. So I like him. We haven't had a running back in a while. Our running back room is awesome. We got Saquon. Let's recap the team real quick as we're getting through there. We went Saquon, JT, and then we just loaded up on 6 straight wide receivers. I think this is a great way to have a robust running back start. Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith. We were hoping to pair with Jalen Hurts. That's the one pick that's like, Yeah, I would much rather that be Pickens and Waddle instead of Devonta Smith and Waddle. But I'm hating on him. And this is a guy that was wide receiver 17, 21, and 19, wide receiver 16, 21, 17 across his last 3 seasons in points per game. Like, Devonta Smith's good. And if they do open this offense a bit more, sure, I wish I had it attached to Hurts. But I'm okay with it. I just would have liked Pickens more. Regardless, Jaden Reed, Deebo Samuel, and Michael Pittman. I mean, that's your wide receiver 6 is Pittman, and you didn't take wide receivers until round 3. I like that receiver room a lot to have the 2 of the best backs in the league, potentially running back 1 and 2 on that roster. I love what we've done so far, Mo. What are your thoughts on the team?
Yeah, I really wish the Hurts stuff would have panned out, but if you're going to hammer grab 2 running backs and then hammer wide receiver, I think that this is one of the better ways to go about it. I like you said, you just really can't complain about Michael Pittman as your wide receiver 6. I don't mind. I was the one. Jaden Reed was among my biggest fades last year, but I don't mind grabbing him ahead of ADP. You kind of alluded to it earlier in the show when we were talking about some stuff. I do think that we just saw some ridiculous ground and pound stuff out of this team last year. And I don't think that's who they want to be. They've made investments into their wide receiver core through Matthew Golden. They've obviously made monetary investments into Jordan Love. I think that they want their identity to be through the passing attack. And I don't mind, like, the price on Jaden Reed, in my opinion, is really, really solid this year. It's come down. And I know that, like, there's questions about the routes and stuff, but I look past it, and I'm fine to draft him in a few slots at ADP ahead of ADP. I don't know if that's a player that you're taking a significant stand on, or if this is an offense that you're making a big stand on, but I enjoy drafting him in that range.
Well, given that that Jordan Love's my second highest drafted quarterback, I absolutely love this offense. I love the passing game to take a big step forward. And on that stat, I was trying to find it right now. I believe it was yeah, here it is. So that idea that plus 3.6% pass rate over expectation in the 5 games with a healthy Love would have been seventh highest last year. In those weeks, those healthy weeks for Jordan Love, Jaden Reed averaged 18.3 points per game. He was on the field for far more snaps. Oh, it's our picks. So, but yeah, that would have been wide receiver 2 on the season. I like Drake May here. Yeah, absolutely. Because you can go in naked and then get Hunter Henry. So yeah, I like Drake May. Yeah, I like Jordan Love. And then that boom, we've got our 2 quarterbacks. You can feel great.
Yeah, I like grabbing May, figuring it out later. And then grabbing Love here at 123.
The one benefit too, I know you had you had Golden and Reed both in there. I haven't done that myself. I do like to take a bet on one of those guys. But if you do that, you have a much better shot at, like, we'll probably have to take Love now because Golden's behind us. But I've always looked out, like, if a Packers receiver goes before me and then I take him, you can usually push Jordan Love to like the 135, 140 range, which is really, really nice. Because now I usually take my Bayshall Tootin, or I take that. So, I mean, it's up to you if you want to go Kyle Williams and stack up May right now. I think we probably can't afford to pass up on Jordan Love.
I don't think we can.
And then we have plenty of quarterback. I do think this might be a 3 quarterback build, starting late at the quarterback position, but that could be Tua, and not the same bye week as any of these guys, which I love. That could be even Daniel Jones at 190 late. At least, and if we don't have a 3rd quarterback, I'm okay with Drake May and Jordan Love too. Like, I was going to say, okay, we take 1 quarterback now, we push and see what happens, but you wouldn't be okay with just 2 quarterbacks at that point. We could be okay with 2, how we're building this one. So yeah, I think we had to reach there, and I don't mind the reach. Like I said, I have Jordan Love as my quarterback 8 on the year, even though he's going so late. So I love it. I think we've built in the flexibility. We don't have a tight end yet. That's okay. Historic 5 straight years of data and best balls have been tight end punting is the best thing to do. I get it, elite tight end, especially with, or it was either punting or you had a healthy Travis Kelce. I do think Bowers could be a healthy and productive Travis Kelce this year and be at that level. But I'm also okay punting. There's that window of the Hunter Henrys, the Brenton Stranges, the Gesicki's, there's so many names. Zach Ertz. We could go to a number of different directions. Darren Waller nowadays. I think we should take Darren Waller late. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really like the pick. Yeah. What do you think of that, by the way? I didn't really get your take on Waller and all this fallout.
My take on Waller is I don't really want to draft him just because a 33-year-old who was coaxed out of retirement and acquired for a conditional pick, like, that doesn't tell me that this team is done trying to find a tight end. I could very well see them exploring options for some of the other guys who are out there on the trading block. So
Michael Mayer's one, right?
Exactly.
Like, who else is there even out there?
I mean, you could convince yourself of like a Kyle Pitts kind of thing. I know, like, there's been some rumblings that they are potentially interested in moving on from him. There was another one that Komet you could convince yourself of. Those are really like the only. It's a select
pretty
group.
Exciting.
Yeah. It's a small group, but just generally, I'm not allowing Darren Waller to like convince me that he's the locked in guy there. And I'm totally going to jinx us here. but Kyle Williams is currently about 18 picks past ADP.
Oh, you said it. Why'd you say
I had to say it live on air on the microphone, and then he'll go right here. But that's the click. Yeah, and he's there.
All right. Wow, you didn't jinx us, Mo. I'm
Yeah.
shocked. Easy pick right now. Windmill, Kyle Williams to pair with Drake May. We're going to probably do Hunter Henry, but now we get like the potential wide receiver one. I love Diggs. I'm a Pats fan, and so I love the diva behavior. Give me all the pink cocaine, whatever the hell he's doing. Give me him slapping asses on a boat. I want my wide receiver one to be doing these things. I think it's phenomenal. But Kyle Williams is much more like Steve Smith said. Kyle Williams reminds him of Steve Smith. I'll take Steve Smith's endorsement any day of the week. I know we don't have any Jags, but you can do Diami and Brenton late. And we both love Trevor Lawrence in this offense. If he makes, I know Travis Hunter's up there, so he's probably not going to make it to us. But I have no issue backstacking, especially because we have some Colts already. The Week 17, that's one of my favorite Week 17 games to dip in. So if Trevor Lawrence does make it past the Travis Hunter team for some reason, I think that's a slam.
Yeah, I would be shocked if he doesn't go right here. He's not one that I have even attempted to backstack at any point this year. But I do think we can just figure it out. Wow.
I think we do it because you have Diami, you have Brenton Strange, and we both love it. So, yeah, I think we got to do Trevor Lawrence. I have him pretty high above Tua, unless you really like Tua there. But no, I like –
like from a stacking perspective, it makes a lot more sense. But you can get some pieces. We don't need to commit that much more to our wide receiver room. Strange is an easy pick. Hopefully, when it comes back around to us, we'll be able to get one or even both of Henry and Strange because we're going to need to start filling this thing up with some late round tight ends here. So it can work out here where we can both get our stacks and fill out our positional needs here, because some of the guys around us have loaded up on tight ends. So it could pan out.
Yeah. So if you want to scroll down, how many picks do we have left? 4, 5? Five. Okay. So we're probably going 3 tight ends with us not addressing the position at all. We already have 3 quarterbacks. We already have 7 receivers, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So this could be it's going to either be a 3-5-7-3 or potentially a 3-4-8-3.
I was thinking 3-4-8-3.
It really could be. When you start Saquon and JT, you win the bet by those guys staying healthy all year for you and giving you 20 points a week, and you don't think about running back at all. So this could definitely be a 3-4-8-3. You can still add Diami later. It really, in worst case, 3-5-8-2. Like, I'm okay with only 2 tight ends. Yeah, 3 makes sense when you're attacking it this late. But if we got Henry and Strange, I wouldn't feel like I had to add Terrence Ferguson and I like Terrence Ferguson. I shouldn't say him scoffingly. He's my number 6 tight end. But I don't need a 3rd tight end, a 3rd at the worst position in fantasy if you're going this late. I get why it would make sense. You're trying to get a touchdown every week from one of your 3 stabs. But I'm not going to feel pressured to if Diami's there and all the tight ends suck that we're looking at.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I like how we've got a few different ways we can do this. I can't believe Trevor Lawrence fell to us.
14 picks past ADP.
Yeah,
pretty wild. And it looks like we're going to be able to grab at least one of these tight ends here. It's right on the nose of ADP for both of these guys, so we can pick our poison here and figure out who we're going to go with.
I think best ball philosophy wise, you'd say, it should be Strange because then we have at least one piece for Lawrence where we already have a piece for Drake May. I do like Hunter Henry a lot more than I like Strange. So do with that what you will. I'll let you make the call because they both make sense. I prefer Henry, but
I think I'm going to go Strange. And like you said, I prefer Henry, but I'm more comfortable having fewer pieces around Drake May than I am Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, we got to have at least something with him. You're right.
Yeah, you can get we need pieces around Trevor Lawrence. You're going to get some rushing stuff, but it's especially with all the injuries, I just feel like it's going to continue to tank. And unfortunately Hunter Henry goes there. So we're not going to be able to get him, but
damn it.
Yeah, that it is what it is. Do you think we just grab one of these running backs in this range and
Let
grab
me
our
see who
fourth
we got. Let me see who we got. And who's at the tight end position as well. I
tight
don't hate
end?
Braylon Allen
It's like
here.
Ertz, Fryermuth,
I
Otten.
like Ertz. I mean, Ertz makes it so we don't have to draft another tight end. Let's take Ertz. Like that, there's a huge drop off after him.
I
Um,
I prefer Otten to Ertz personally.
I like Otten too, but I don't know. We saw what Ertz just did last year. Otten is kind of more of a contingency bet when everybody was healthy there. Plus, they added Igbuka. Like he wasn't much, and then that's what I love about Liam Cohen. By the way, is like when somebody Godwin goes down, suddenly Kate Otten's the best tight end in fantasy for a few
Yeah,
weeks, and
it
he
was
just
pretty
made it
insane.
work with whoever he had.
It was pretty insane what he was able to do for those couple of weeks. But for me, Otten, it's just like the bet is that he grabs like 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, but like you can just so easily see the floor falling out for Otten is like not the touch is no touchdowns, but for Ertz the floor falling out is that he's just like not on the field anymore. He's
Do you
just
see Kingsbury really doing that to him though, like out of nowhere?
well, just like obviously the injury risk is greater with
Sure.
age, but I mean, yeah, I mean, if he's just really, really horrendous, you can see it happening. And obviously, based on what we've seen, what we saw last year, like that doesn't seem like the likely outcome. But I mean, time and time again, we see that it's just a flip of a switch, and this guy's toast. So I don't think that's what happens, but I just like it's a different floor in my opinion. And I like I said, I don't think it's likely, but I think we have to be realistic about what the floor is.
Yeah, it's fair. It could just bottom out. We saw that happen with Ertz, with Kingsbury in Arizona not too long ago, and then Trey
Yep.
McBride became a superstar. They do have Ben Sinnott, who's looked great in camp so far, waiting in the wings. It could have happened, yes. I see that too.
What was it with Ertz in Arizona? Like he had like a hamstring, he went on IR, and then he just never played another down for the team.
Yeah, pretty much. I think they traded him actually
I
that
think they
year because
released him.
McBride came in and killed it, and they're like,
I
"All
think
right,
they
we don't
just
need him
released
anymore."
him.
What's that?
I think they just released the guy.
Yeah, maybe. I can't. Did he
Yeah.
go back to the Eagles or something? I can't remember.
Yes, he went back to the Eagles for like a week or something like that. Something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh,
So do you grab Diami here? I think that's the play.
yeah. Double stack Lawrence. I think that's great. We have JT, so I don't love Giddens. I don't even hate it. Me and CJ were actually talking about this the other day. We were drafting together in my backyard, and he's like, "Why don't we just lock up both of them? Because if Taylor goes down, Giddens is probably putting up 18 to 20 himself,
Yeah.
and you just have that whole backfield, which it's like, oh yeah, kind of makes sense. I don't normally handcuff in best ball, but it also
In a 4 running back build though.
yeah, probably not in a 4. As your 5th or 6th, sure. I think it makes sense.
You're just limiting yourself so heavily.
Yeah. Um, so who? I mean, do we go Marshawn Lloyd? Maybe. I love Brashard Smith. You know that. But I was saying, with Jordan Love, potential pass catcher, explosive playmaker. I love Brashard Smith though. So what do our bye weeks look like? Do we have any?
These are my
overlap?
2 options.
Either of those would be fine with bye weeks. Okay.
These are my
Warren's
2. I don't
week
care
5 though. Let's go Brashard Smith.
That's
Get
fine with
us
me.
four running backs on the field, and then we could always go Marshawn Lloyd if he makes it back to us, and just have 2 tight ends and say that position sucks and it doesn't really matter, which is true.
We can make a call here at the end.
I do love Dylan Sampson too this late as well.
Cool.
So why don't let's queue up a bunch of rookie running backs and some tight ends, and we'll just decide who our favorite is. This would be a good way to. There goes Lloyd. Do you want to pull up the player list though, and we'll just queue up a bunch of hit tight end and hit running back, and we'll just. I like Darren Waller, crusty boy. I like Terrence Ferguson, and I like Arroyo. You already kind of called those 2 as tight ends. Is there any late tight ends you like in addition to those names?
No. My late tight ends, like it stops with like Otten, where I am not just cringing when I make the pick, because it's just so hard for I can see it for Ferguson, I guess. But it's just so hard for me to see any of the rookies doing anything. For me, it's super low ceiling. For me, the late round tight end path that I prefer to go down is routes, and then just praying for touchdowns and filling out my lottery ticket with 6 touchdowns, as opposed to a breakout from some random rookie second, third year tight end. Like it might be an approach that's like counterintuitive when it comes to like what your mentality should be in the game of best ball. But that's just how I prefer to approach it. Like if there's a rookie guy if there's a rookie that I like, it is Ferguson though.
Okay, interesting. Does that make you? I mean, that kind of sounded like Juwan Johnson as you talked. Like
Yes.
routes, touchdown.
Yes.
Got a huge contract from the Saints, so clearly they value what he brings to the table.
Johnson and Otten.
All right, yeah. I mean, we could go Juwan Johnson here.
All right, that's fine with
me. Is Sampson gone though, or
Sampson's there?
It's up to you. I love Sampson, but if you think the third tight end fits this team better, I'm totally fine with Juwan as well. I'm going to let you make the final call here. Yeah, Sampson. I love it. So much upside. Probably going to be the lead pass catching back, already working in the slot. Maybe better than Judkins. I like Judkins, don't get me wrong, but I love Sampson too. A great talent. They're going to get right back to pounding the rock. I think we're looking at like Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb 2.0, like just 2 great backs in fantasy, and you're getting them in the last round. So I know our tight end situation. I guess that's what we should look at. Is there anywhere where could we have addressed tight end? If you got to get running too, I totally get it, Mo.
Yeah, I gotta scram here in a minute, but I do the one I was eyeballing, even though we didn't have him, was Goddard. He went right, even though we didn't have Hurts is what I mean. He went right ahead of us here at 146. I was hoping we could grab Lawrence and then grab Goddard. Perhaps, or he was just on my mind in this range. Didn't fully flesh out the plan, but that was one spot that I was interested in grabbing a tight end. But I don't really think we missed anything big. I had Andrews queued up here when we drafted Jaylen Warren, but I don't think that there's anything that's too devastating of missed picks, in my opinion.
Yeah, Andrews probably would have been nice there if we knew that this is how the tight end would have flown. Probably a nice pick there. I remember you queued up Hawkinson right around Debo too, which would have been early for Hawkinson, but definitely would have fit this team pretty nice. You can do 2 tight ends a lot more easy with Hawkinson. But overall, to start running back, and get the receiver room that we did, I love that. I think a tight end's certainly going to be the weakness here, unless Bretton Strange really shocks the world and thrives, or Ertz continues what he did last year. But overall, I like it. I'd give this team like a solid B+ for our first BBM together, dude. I like this a lot. I know we'll have to get over the hump. We had a few semifinals teams last year. I mean, we only had about like 40 teams at most together. Probably not
even that many. We had I think 25, and we got
25 teams. And how many semis did we make? 2, 3, like pretty
2
good
to the
rate.
Semifinals, I believe.
Yeah, that's not a bad rate there. Well, I know you got to get running, Mo. This was a blast to catch up on some of my guys. I'd love to maybe hear some of your highest exposed guys next time as well. And we'll certainly be firing up more of these this summer. Do you want to let everyone know? I know your content's we miss you for sure. We love having you, but you got a great gig going over there. So why don't you let everybody know where you're at, where they can find your stuff?
Yeah. You can find me on my Twitter handle, MOH_FFB. I'm working full-time over at a company called TWSN now. General Sports Media. I still do my fantasy stuff as well over there, but check out the YouTube channel. The Sit Down with Malik, right? We have an interview with Jamar Chase coming out in a couple of days. Wow. So that is the big thing for my current work that you can go check out. But yeah, we will be back soon. I will share some of my gross exposures with you and give the truth my best. We will have to, the 3 of us will have to get on for our pre-draft kind of stuff that we've typically done the last few years.
100%. No, we absolutely will. The plan is, and I didn't even tell you too much, but the plan is this summer, at least twice a week. If not, if it's hitting 3-4 days a week, calling it the RSJ Fantasy Football Morning Show, where we have 2 to 3 hours of content. A draft, a segment, and that. And yeah, we would love to keep having you on for either drafting or coming on with me and the truth. We've had some great sleeper shows, you crushed the bus show, if I'm not mistaken, a few, year in and year out. So we will definitely be having you as a regular guest for sure on the morning show, no doubt.
All right. I'll catch up with you later, Wolf. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you, Mo. Cheers.
See you, bud.
Later. All righty. And it looks like right on cue, the Truth arrives. Truth, you had me nervous there. I was like, oh, crap. Do you know what day it is that we're going to record today? Or you're here. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm here. Dante, you got to turn that off, bud.
Is it all good to still record, or should we push back to another day for you?
No, I'm the only reason I wasn't in the studio is because I was watching your show, and I knew you weren't done. So
okay, good. I figured. All righty, perfect. Well, we're gonna pause one quick second. Thank you guys again so much. 280 of you with us live. As we take a quick breather, I'm going to just play the intro real quick and get our stuff gathered here. But the Truth has joined for hour 2 here. We just finished up my guys, my highest exposed players. And now we're going to be moving into the off-season catch-up. What you need to know for that. And then, of course, we're going to debut a new segment where me and Truth at the end of every morning show do a draft of something that's not fantasy related and draw some fantasy comparisons and everything else. So the Truth is back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be taking over in just a second. All righty. Intro.
Kuhn is the fullback with the first and goal. Kuhn gets the ball. Pile driving his way in for the touchdown. What a great second effort.
I said so. I keep big bills up in my heart on the dirty like blood. So I got no twist in my head, but I'm still dreadful.
We might need to update that one. Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown. A song still goes hard as ever, but certainly we might need to hit Taylor up for a refresher on that one. Some classic throwbacks there for sure. But my man, Truth, it's been a minute since we fired one of these up. How's everything going, brother?
Oh, man, it's been going pretty good. Lots changed. Not enough time to catch you up on everything in, the last 5-6 months. I mean, other than the occasional text, we haven't really caught up too much since the Super Bowl, something like that. I imagine you've been keeping busy.
Just
you've
had a few busy, yeah.
changes in your life.
Little
additions
Josie
to the
has
family.
arrived. Yes.
How many best balls have you done since the Super Bowl?
Dude, great question. Don't know if Hillary's listening or not. No, I actually had a really successful year last year. So I had a bunch of money in the account, had being the keyword I've already blown through. No, I was able to have a nice cushion to really explore and test out new stuff. I'm probably at 300 drafts already, like no exaggeration. It's been amazing, but that's kind of, as I rock her to sleep and Josie falls asleep. All righty. Well, why not get a draft going? She's passed out on me. I don't want this time to end because I just love the feeling of her melting on my chest. And I'll draft a $2 million team. Why not? It sounds like a win-win-win to me.
You say to yourself,
I've been feasting.
She doesn't need to go to college.
No, exactly. Dipping into her fund for sure. Or maybe this is the thing that sends her to college because we get all the money, huh? We're winning the $2 million this year. But
obviously, super good luck with that, and we'll catch up. I mean, we're going to be doing this a few more times during the summer. But the way we wanted to play this is, unlike a lot of the guys at RSJ, the Super Bowl comes around and then I'm not locked in the next day on what's going on. As a matter of fact, I often don't really catch up on things until I start doing these pods with you and get on the group text with the rest of the RSJ guys. So I just know the basics, and you guys know just several levels deeper than I do. So I have a bunch of fantasy football questions tailored for me specifically, but anybody who's not just an absolute diehard 12 months a year actually might, think some of this stuff is pretty useful. Some of them are, funny edged questions. Some of them are legitimate. I actually want to know some stuff. So I got 10, 12 questions I wouldn't mind firing off during this, and then we can do some non-fantasy drafting at the end, assuming you're still up for it.
110%. I can't wait for that. That's the most prep for the show. Went into the draft we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting texts
sure.
from you at like 6:45 asking for clarification on some of this stuff.
Which
I
we
love
will
that.
decide
Right.
online too. But yes, exactly. I think it's a great way to preface this. I called it the fantasy catch-up crash course because you are so right. 99% of the population is like, oh, it's the 4th of July. Maybe I'll start paying attention to fantasy football training camps opening in a couple of weeks. The fireworks go off, and I feel like that kind of triggers a signal a lot of people. It's like, okay, it's time to care about fantasy again. And I know you're kind of in that more casual catch-up group. So now I thought this would be a great opportunity to, like, if you're just waking up and you haven't really paid attention, you might know the basics, and you're going to preface some questions where you'll let me know. They probably know who Genty is, things like that, right? But you don't know the ins and outs of what's happened this offseason or what we should be looking forward to with the regular season. Now, I don't know any of these 10 questions. That's the best part is, so it's not like I have stats on every one. Maybe I do have stats on every one of these guys, right off the top of my brain, because that's what I remember these days. But ultimately, there's no real prep. This is kind of going off the cuff. What does Truth want to know heading into the season? And I'm just going to fire away as he asks them. So, Truth, why don't you fire off question 1?
All right. So some of these will take longer than others, but the first 4 questions might actually take you some time. Other than that, we might be a little more rapid fire. First question. So obviously in the past few seasons, recent years, I mean, when we started RSJ, the notion of like first year guys, they didn't really get much burn, right? I mean, and so the past few years have definitely seen that change. As someone who has not been drafting since February, like I said earlier, I know a lot about the large-thighed individual, the running back, Ashton Genty, the supposedly impossible to tackle guy who did get tackled quite a bit in the college football playoffs, although you could still see it even in those games, you could still see, this guy could be a problem. So first question, do you consider this guy a sure thing, or do you have concerns? If so, what are they? And I'd also like to know, give me 2 running backs other than him, first-year guys that you might be interested in going. If there's more than 2, then go ahead and lay them on me. But tell me what you think about Genty, and then tell me if there's 2 other guys that you're interested in, given that they're first-year guys coming into the pros.
Love it. I'm going to type up the questions as you ask them and pull them up. So rookie catch-up, Genty and more. I think it's the most perfectly fitting question to kick this off. It's as if I told you to ask this, and I'm so happy that I didn't. Because I think 2025 is going to go down as the year of the rookie running back. I think that is going to define the season. So this is the perfect first question. I've been writing about this in the guide. Like, what are the 10 stories? That would be a cool show maybe for our next one or whenever we go, is what are the 10 narratives that are going to define the fantasy season? Because that's really what it often comes down to. And I really think that rookie running backs are going to be what we look back at. Last year was rookie receivers. It was the year of the rookie receivers. Brian Thomas, breaking out, Ladd McConkey, all these late round values that ultimately crush it. We were on that. We thought this was going to be great. I'm reversing it this year and calling it the rookie running back year. It's known as one of the best classes to come in the last decade or two, just in terms of testing metrics, in terms of actual production on the field. It's elite. So this is the perfect place to kick off. I do think Genty is the absolute real deal. I have him in my top 10 overall players, top 5 running backs. This is a Saquon level prospect that just – a lot of people, you didn't catch a lot of balls last year. This is a converted receiver that the year before, I believe, had right around 50 catches. So he absolutely has that 3-down skill set. He goes to a Raiders team where you're like, the Raiders sucked last year, one of the lowest scoring offenses. But look what they did. They add Geno Smith. I know, not like the best quarterback in the world, but
not the worst, though.
Yeah, it is certainly worse in the NFL. Certainly better than Aiden O'Connell and whoever the hell else, Desmond Ridder, whatever. I don't even know what they were doing last year. Disgusting. So you get a stable quarterback. You got a line that is not the best, probably a bottom 15 line, but not the worst in the league. And just a situation where who's he competing with for touches? Sincere McCormick, Raheem Mostert, they signed? No thanks. And so Chip Kelly, the one other piece of that I think is huge, is now their offensive coordinator. And say what you will about the guy and whatever faults he might have, he calls an elite run game, whether it was Shady McCoy just feasting as the running back 1 for all of those seasons that he stayed healthy with Chip Kelly. Then you look last year at Ohio State at the college level, Chip Kelly knows how to scheme a great run game. So Genty's a slam dunk windmill. I'd take him over Derrick Henry in fantasy drafts. Wow. That's how highly I feel about Genty. So slam dunk. And as you know, those thighs, I mean, come on. the most important piece of this all. the thighs, the quads, ridiculous. So yes, all in on Genty. And man, I know you only asked for 2 or 3, so I'll give you 2 or 3, maybe a few more will slip out of the mouth because this is,
Maybe
like
a
I
few
said,
more.
the year of the rookie running back for sure. But one other guy, early-ish that I love is RJ Harvey. He goes right around round 5 or 6, drafted by the Denver Broncos. And it's just one of those situations. Sean Payton backfields, 12 out of 17 years have been top 2 in total backfield points. Just the best possible environment. Even last year with a collection of shit bums, they were top 3 in pass targets to the running back position. They had nobody to go to. Then he goes and handpicks RJ Harvey, 4.39 speed, super explosive out of UCF. Solid enough pass catcher, didn't get used a ton as a pass catcher at the college level, but that was the first thing they said in OTAs is we threw a ton at him, and he was thriving in that role. So yes, Dobbins is now there too. I see a very similar situation to that Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram setup where both guys were top 5 running backs under Sean Payton. He's had multiple times where he's had 2 top 24 running backs. So I think both Broncos backs are great drafts, but especially RJ Harvey, a guy I am hammering. And then I talked about this with Mo in my highest drafted players. And the other 3 I'll toss out. And there's so many rookies I love. Cam Scatterbo could take over for the Giants. I could go on and on about rookie backs. Travion Henderson for the Patriots, eventually taking over there. But the 3 I'll highlight go much later, 140 or so in drafts is the earliest you'll see these guys start to go off the board. The first 2 are Jadon Blue for the Cowboys and Bashal Rootin' Tootin' over there for the Jacksonville Jags. So you got Jadon, my boy Blue. I love this guy. He's my highest exposed player in all of best ball right now at any position. Going to the Cowboys, 4.29 40 at his pro day, 4.38 at the combine. I know the position's more than speed, but he's a great pass catcher. You can get him in space. They passed up on a ton of potential feature backs, TJ Giddens, Ollie Gordon, to get this guy. And they clearly must have a vision for him. So to go at 140 and have the receiving production that this guy has, even if he is just the pass catching back, I think he's going to be a phenomenal pick. But then you only have to beat out Javonte Williams, who had the worst efficiency in the league last year. Miles Sanders is somehow still kicking around an NFL team. There's nobody else in front of him. So, yeah, he's not built like a feature back 195, but he could have a very Jahmyr Gibbsian light role. It's not Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not going to go that crazy. But this offense is explosive, and I really think he is a slam dunk windmill pick. Okay. And Bashal Tootin only has to beat out for the Jags there, Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. I've never believed in Travis Etienne. I know you're in the same boat with me there. We've never been Etienne guys. It's only burned us like 1 out of 4 years so far.
Well, right. One time we looked dumb, and the rest we looked pretty smart.
I'll take that. I'll take one time looking dumb for Etienne. And I think Rootin' Tootin' is going to definitely take over for this guy at some point. Liam Cohen coming over from the Bucs. Which was one of the bigger offseason moves, this offseason crash course. If I was going to pick one coordinator that was like, this is the biggest thing that happened, I think Liam Cohen now being the head coach for them. I know he said Duval weird. I get it. It was annoying. But ultimately, the Bucs offense was a juggernaut under this guy, especially the way he used his running backs. And Tootin had very similar metrics in the sense of broken tackle rate, missed tackles forced to Bucky Irving. He also just has 4.32 speed that Bucky Irving does. I'm not saying Tootin's going to be a better player than Bucky Irving. I love Bucky. You love Bucky.
Don't
Bucky's
talk
the
bad
best,
about Bucky.
The best of all. I'll never give up on Bucky Irving. But ultimately, Tootin, handpicked by the same guy that helped Bucky Irving thrive as a rookie, that has also even better speed. The line is not nearly as good there. But ultimately, those are a handful of rookies. But in general, you are absolutely right to lead off with rookie running backs as the first question, because that's what this season is going to be defined upon.
Okay. All right. That was pretty succinct. The second question is almost exactly the same, but we're going to shift to wide receivers. And same thing, as like a layman that, is not locked in constantly on these things. It's like, what receiver do you think has been on my radar in coming out of college?
Okay. So who do you know? Probably Travis.
No, I mean, you tell me, and then I'm basically going to frame the question exactly the same way, but inserting someone else in the Genty role for wide receivers. Who's the high profile receiver you imagine someone like me knows about?
Travis Hunter.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we're doing the exact same question. Put in Hunter in that category. First of all, is Hunter your top guy? And second of all, if he's not, who is? And give me 2 or 3 other guys other than Hunter that I should be aware of moving into my fantasy dress?
Absolutely. A great way to catch up in the offseason too is rookies. Just because in general, I know I just raved about the rookie running back class, but we've seen for 4 or 5 years, when me and you started doing the show and when we started playing fantasy, it was always like the year 3 receiver breakout. And then it was the year 2 receiver breakout. And now it is like rookies, they're not all Jamar Chases, but rookies will just walk in. We saw it last year and be top 12 receivers right off the jump. I don't know if this class has one of those. It's known as a weaker receiver class. If someone was going to be that, it would be Travis Hunter, and he would need a full-time receiver role to pull that off. I don't know if he's going to get that. They've already talked about how he is going to be playing both ways. And so you can't bank on this guy getting all the snaps. But in terms of just pure electricity, I do think Travis Hunter is the most intriguing talent. I do draft him a lot. In best ball, he goes around the 50s. In redraft, he goes around the 60s. I think he's definitely a worthwhile stab there. But the receiver I have higher than him is named Tet McMillan. Have you ever heard of Tet McMillan at all or no?
Heard the name, and I don't know anything else.
Gotcha. So he was the first receiver drafted other than Travis Hunter, who's the hybrid. He's the next receiver off the board. He goes to the Carolina Panthers, who, Bryce Young, that's kind of gross. Well, actually, Adam Thielen was
Is it any grosser than Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, exactly. No, probably not. And after we had the whole Andy Dalton fiasco, Dalton gets in a car crash and then somehow benched. Bryce Young, when he comes back from that, he averaged 21 fantasy points per game. He was like the quarterback 5 down the stretch. And in the last 3 weeks, he was the quarterback 3. He just looked like a completely different beast. Andy Dalton, the red rifle, fired a new, it just got him going. And so ultimately, I'm willing to give Bryce Young a shot, especially because in redraft, Tet McMillan's going like 78. In best ball, he going 38. Like it's one of those things where it's just like a 40 pick gap because best ballers are seeing the fact that what I also see, a true alpha X wide receiver. His comparison was most often Mike Evans, a big body that can get down the field, not a complete burner, but yet like surprises you with his speed, can also make the contested catches, a big touchdown scorer. And going into an offense that, like, even when Bryce Young sucked, Adam Thielen was a top 6 wide receiver to kick off 2 seasons ago. I absolutely think he could be fed. I don't love him in that early 38, 39 range in best ball. I still take him every now and again because I don't want to be without him in my best ball portfolio. But at 78 in redraft right now, an absolute slam dunk. So I think that's a great one. He's one that you definitely need to know. And then it does become a lot more of just knowing, like, where did this guy land? Is he worth it? So I'll toss out a few. We just drafted him in my draft with Mo. I love Kyle Williams for the Pats. Maybe it's me being biased, but Steve Smith compared this guy to Steve Smith. And ultimately, he loves this guy. He's a smaller guy, but explosive, tracks the ball well, good with the ball in his hands. And sure, they have Stephon Diggs, but ultimately, I don't think that's like a death knell. And I do think he can ultimately take over for him. So I like Kyle Williams a lot. It is a weaker receiver class. I'm trying to think of like who else I land on. I'm gonna look at my best ball exposures real quick. I'm trying to do this without notes. Trey Harris, another one I absolutely love. He lands with the Chargers. And so, yeah, you have Quentin Johnson. They're probably starting the year. They're all raving about how much they like him and the steps he took. But then they go and take a second-round receiver that does exactly what Quentin Johnson does, but does it better. So, to me, this is going to be the clear number 2 guy with Ladd McConkey. Trey Harris is an absolute beast. Nobody's been better at defeating man coverage in the last 10 years. Like nearly like a 7 yards per route run against man coverage. Was putting up just gaudy numbers at Ole Miss with Jackson Dart before he got hurt himself. And that's the rub with him. He can't stay healthy, but he's a big guy that can get open, make plays with it. So Trey Harris, in best ball going right now around like 110, in redraft going like 170, a last round type of stab that you can take that I love. And the only other one I'll toss out to you is Luther Burden going there to the Bears. A lot of people entering last year, he would have been their number 1 wide receiver prospect as a rookie. Took a little bit of a step back in his senior season, but the quarterback play, the environment was awful. I don't think it was Luther Burden's fault. This is known as maybe the best yards after the catch receiver in this draft class. So deadly with the ball in his hand. And where does he land? The Chicago Bears, who just hired Ben Johnson. So this is kind of like a 2-for-1 offseason crash course special. Ben Johnson of the Lions, the best play caller in the game potentially, goes over there. Now, I don't fully buy into Caleb Williams. He's not my cup of tea. Not a guy I'll typically draft. But if anyone's going to save this guy, I do think it is Ben Johnson. And you think about the Amon-Ra layup role. Is it going to be DJ Moore? Maybe. Could be. Could it be Luther Burden, who's going like in the 140s in best ball right now, going undrafted in redraft? It absolutely could be because he's that deadly. And this is the guy he handpicked himself. So I love those rookies. Tet McMillan being my number 1. Travis Hunter, the biggest boom bust of the guys, but certainly the highest upside. And then as a couple more names to know, Trey Harris and Luther Burden. I guess one more, Jaden Higgins for the Texans, 4.3 speed, like 6'1", beast, jacked, good at the catch point, good after the catch. And they really need, now that Tank Dell is, I love Tank Dell. So sad to see him go. The injuries, what happened to this guy, but they clearly need a number 2 to step up. And all reports are he is thriving in camp so far.
Tank Dell, that just brought me back to it.
I don't mean to make it depressed now on the day before the 4th of July here.
No. Well, it's okay. All right, we're gonna pivot back to and just first of all the fact that you had to look at notes and didn't have more than another guy off the top of your head for receivers versus like how just gushing you were with running backs. That's telling in itself, I would say, as far as these questions go. But let's pivot back to receiver or to running backs, and we're going to go to the very top of the food chain here. I got 5 running backs I'm going to hit you with.
Okay.
I want you to put them in order for where you would draft them. And then I want you to tell me if they're your top 5. You tipped your hand to this actually a little bit earlier. It seems like they are not necessarily your top 5.
Ooh.
And if not, who's going to get ahead of who? And then I got a follow-up question for you after you rank these guys.
Let's do it.
Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, CMC. Put them in order, 1 to 5.
All right, so it's Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, and I know CMC was in there. Who was the other one?
Bijan.
Okay, so most of these are in my top 5. So you're nailing like the big names here. It's ranked the top 5 running backs. There are a couple though that don't crack the list. So Saquon Barkley's still my running back 1. I understand, the 400 plus touch curse that everyone is tossing out there. I understand that the same running back hasn't been the number 1 running back for, I want to say it's like 20 years, something crazy. So history's not on his side. But if I'm just laying out the arguments, like other than like, oh, it hasn't happened in 20 years, everything is still in place. Yes, Jalen Hurts, the tush push. I mean, Barkley would have been just insane if the tush push didn't exist, but he still was such a freak last year. Can get it done as a receiver when needed, but ultimately the way he was, that line is so elite, and it was so refreshing to see like an elite back like Barkley finally get the space. He's been just stuffed behind the line time and time again with the Giants, and you see when he finally gets the space, the amount of 30-plus yard touchdown runs were insane. So Barkley's still my clear number 1. Bijan is my number 2, especially once Penix took over. They really seemed to just like commit to Penix. Bijan, Algier really took a beat. For a lot of the season, it was like Bijan in Algier was not like a 1B, but a lot closer. And it became a much clearer, like Bijan's our guy, and Algier might sprinkle in for a touch or 2 here. And he was just an absolute monster down the stretch and just young, fresh. I think the best is yet to come. He himself said like he's been watching a ton of Barkley and training in the sense that the one thing he thinks is missing from his game, which is exactly what I agree, is you didn't have those 30-plus touchdown runs. You didn't have those huge explosive plays. One of the best guys at like 10 yards, 12 yards, 11 yards, 8 yards, always falling forward, always churning, but didn't really rip off a ton of those massive plays and still was a beast. So I have like one tool I allowed myself to open up because I know we're going no notes, but I still want to just kind of like check on a few things. So Bijan had a slow start to the year. I'm looking at one of those graphs that I absolutely love. Maybe I can I'll pull it in here real quick.
You do love a good graph.
I love a good graph. There's a great tool. It's RotoViz. I'll shout those guys out here. Let me stop this screen share, and I'm going to stop screen and then add this screen share. So I know some of you guys are listening to the podcast. I'll reference the stats that I'm reading out here. But you can see this is Bijan's game log from last year. So, and when I say like a bad start to the year, he still had 16, 16, 13, 11, and 10. But then you see from week 6 on, almost every single game is above 20 points.
Right.
Absolutely insane. He must have been. I don't know this off the top of my head, but I can't imagine there was a running back that was better from week 6 on than Bijan Robinson. 83% of his games were at a top 12 level. I'm guessing most of those are at a top 5 level as well. When you look at that, it's insane amount of 20-point games in that stretch run. So to me, it's like you can't go anyone other than, and if you wanted to go somebody other than Barkley at 1, it has to be Bijan, in my opinion.
Okay.
And you could make the fresher, younger argument and say that's okay. But to me, those are the clear 1, 2. And the only other guy I'd put in that same tier is Jahmyr Gibbs. The number 1 running back in fantasy last year for PPR leagues. And we'll pull up his stats right here. again, using the RotoViz NFL Stat Explorer, one of my favorite tools out there, just for how they show you the data. Once David Montgomery went down, which I believe was right around, it was at Green Bay. And so you see this final over the fantasy playoffs, what this guy did, 28, 25, 26, and 46 points, still managed like a third as well. And just it's such an electric talent. Like, is there anyone more fun to watch than Jahmyr Gibbs and the big plays that this guy can rip off? And what if this is a situation where you just can't put the genie back in the bottle? You saw what Jahmyr Gibbs did for your offense. And this doesn't even include that playoff game against the Commanders, where he was featured, even though Montgomery was healthy. We saw Jahmyr Gibbs put up another 35-point fantasy day. Just an absolute animal, such a great receiver, so explosive. If I had to pick just the single most talented running back, I'd probably pick Gibbs. Like, if I could pick any running back to build around for a team, just because of how explosive he is and how many different things he lets you do. So to me, those three are like the top three, and they're in a tier together. If you wanted to take any of those three ahead of the other, I'd be okay with it. I do rank them Barkley, then Bijan, then Gibbs myself, more so because of volume. If you told me Gibbs was going to get 70% of the touches like he did down the stretch, he'd be the number one in all of fantasy. There wouldn't be even Chase. I'd probably take Gibbs ahead of Jamar Chase if that was the case. Then it's a drop-off. Then to me, I do go Derrick Henry of the five that you named, and Christian McCaffrey can just kiss my ass. I don't want anything to do with him. And for me saying that, I know he's going to beat my ass.
He's a legacy pick. I threw him in there just because there's going to be – look, you got your finger on the pulse of fantasy more than me, but you can't tell me there aren't going to be some people that are going to shell out for CMC.
Absolutely. He still goes in the first round in best ball drafts, and I totally understand why. If McCaffrey stays healthy, he's going to be the number one player in fantasy, not just running back player. Like he's that good. He's either, and that's kind of how it's gone. He's either over the last 6 seasons, he's either been the number one running back. I think he had one number 2 finish. Oh no. Or he's missed half the year or more. And so there's really no more.
Whatever team drafted him. Right.
Exactly. And I unfortunately happen to always be on the all right, this is the year he's going to do it for me. I'm going to have McCaffrey, and I've never had him when he's actually had a good year. I've only had him in his injury years. And I'm telling you guys now, I'm not drafting him. So he's going to blow up. So all of you take this for what it is. CMC should be your number one running backs out there because I'm not going to draft him, which means he is going to absolutely punish me. There's no middle ground here. It's happened every single season. He goes off when I don't have him, and I don't win because I don't have him. Or I take him, I go all in my auction, I pay $70, I make sure to get CMC, and then he sucks.
Right. And he's not going to be like some middling, 8-point a game guy.
Never. No. And all the reports are he looks as healthy as ever in camp. He's not missing a snap. And now there's no Debo and there's no Ayuk for the year. They're going to need him to be their offensive centerpiece. And while he's out there, he's probably going to average the 23 or so points per game that he typically does. He's going to be a beast as long as he's healthy, but I can't do it. I can't stomach it. It's a bad player coach fit. We just do not work well together. Me and McCaffrey will never be aligned. And so I'm not going to take McCaffrey.
That one auction year that I had that you were just driving hard. You were like, you have to draft CMC. Yeah. And I've never been a guy that just breaks the bank on somebody. And I did. And I spent $70 some on him. And man, that first 2.5 weeks of having him, it was like you were dating the hottest girl in school that had always been out of your league. And it was just, you're driving a car. You're driving a car that was $50,000 more than any car you could ever afford. Yeah. I was just waking up, feeling good, springing out of bed in the morning, didn't even need coffee. I was just this is fantastic. This is really living. And then he got hurt in my life and it was just over. I was like, that was a great 2.5 weeks. Yep,
exactly. And as soon as you have it and you get sniffed out, it's I'll never feel that good again in my life.
No, and I never did. I never have.
It's still chasing that high for 3 years later. I fully get it, man. And that's why it's I should be able to. And I guess in some best ball, you have to, if you're playing best ball where you're drafted a ton of teams like I do, you have to sprinkle him in at some point. I still haven't done it myself, but your whole season could be completely ruined by this guy. If he goes off, like Christian McCaffrey goes off, you're not going to win any money if you don't have him. He's going to be the most important player in fantasy. So I'm glad you put him on the list because like it is important to bring him up.
I had to.
He's gonna be a top 5 running back if he plays. But to me, I strongly doubt it. Henry's my running back 6, and CMC, I think I have him all the way down like running back 12 because
I love that's such a spiteful ranking. I love that.
-8 ECR. Like I'm not gonna have that guy this year. And again, it's probably gonna kill me because
if he gets hurt, they're gonna be like, yeah, the Wolf called it.
Yeah. My number 4 running back, and actually it's great you asked this because it's pretty topical, is as of 2 days ago, Devon Achane. I bumped into my top 5 running backs. They just I didn't even realize it was. I knew in games with Tua he was good. Truth. I know I'm not gonna like spell out a ton of stats on this show. It's kind of just no prep. But I literally just wrote about this, and so it's off the top of my dome. In games with Tua last year, Devon Achane was on pace for 113 targets, 104 catches, 819 yards receiving, and 9 touchdowns. Just as a pass catcher. That's like a low-end wide receiver 1 PPR season right there as a pass catcher. But then you mix in the pace of all the rushing and all that. He was on pace for 325 total touches. Again, 104 catches with that. 1,779 yards and 17 touchdowns over that span. If you average just the games he had with Tua, 22.5 fantasy points per game in that span would have been the number 1, better than Barkley last year. Oh, and now you take Jonnu Smith, one of his biggest targets competitions in that middle of the field area, 111 targets last year, 4th among tight ends. Those are now gone, traded away to the Steelers. Don't understand why. I thought he was going to be a smash. Clearly not. But to me, Devon Achane, like, how does it get better than that? I think he is an absolute home run pick. I haven't drafted him a ton in early best ball because him and Taylor go in the same range, and I love Jonathan Taylor this year too. But ultimately, with now Jonnu Smith gone, I dug into those splits and was like, oh my God, like Achane is just a cheat code. I love Devon Achane.
Okay.
Number 4 for me. Did you have him at all last year? Because I know he was one of our like you must draft guys. Was Achane?
I didn't have Achane. Remember, I had Mostert the year that he was like the RB1.
Yeah, 18 touchdowns or whatever that was. Like, crazy. Yeah. And now Mostert's gone. So that's a good point. Like Mostert, who vultured 18 touchdowns just a season ago, is gone. Only Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon behind him. Like Achane's going to be a cheat code. So he's my running back.
Ollie Gordon.
He's a rookie. He's a big bodied rookie. He could become a touchdown vulture. I actually don't mind Ollie Gordon as like a last round stab, big body guy out of Wisconsin. But he was like entered last year as like the top rookie running back prospect and had a horrible year, and no one really knows why. And so it just kind of like, did this guy just kind of get fat and slow and he's not good anymore? Maybe. So he might be a nothing too. My number 5 running back is Genty, who we already talked about. So we don't have to dive into that. Henry does slide in at 6, and then Taylor's at 7. And if you told me Taylor leaps any of those guys and finishes the running back 1, like I'm all in on Taylor this year too.
Man, Taylor. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's good at the top. Like I know last year we talked a lot about jellyfishing and moving around and taking the best values. And sure, I'm still about that. But if I can get 2 top 8 running backs this year, I'm back to when we started the site, it was bell cow breeding, baby. I'm ready to get back to the horses.
I told you I had a follow-up question after my top 5 ranking. And the follow-up question was literally, are you leaning back towards the RB strategy, or is that ship sailed for now? And it seems like you're telling me you're back in. There was, you and I for a good while, remember we were all about the stable.
Yes.
Sometimes even RB.
Yes.
Like we were building a stable of bell cows. And so I wanted to ask, because we kind of got a little bit away from that for good reason recently, but you're back is what you're telling me.
I just think you look at last year and it was a resurgence, a renaissance at the position. And absolutely, I am more than willing to go back to it. So I'll press it. If you look at my rankings at rotostreetjournal.com, the top 13 backs, I want 2 of them, and they all go between rounds 1 and 3. So yes, I am 100% back in on running back, or running back, receiver, running back, or even running back. If I can get 3 of these guys, I'm all for it. So I am 100% back into bell cow breeding. Best ball is a little bit of a different beast because receivers do get elevated so much. You can find yourself so far behind that, like, there's just no way to catch up at receiver. Although last year it was optimal to not have a single receiver other than Jamar Chase through 7 rounds. So hit or miss there. But me and Mo, the draft we just did was a running back start. We got Barkley, we got Taylor, and then we hammered 6 straight receivers. I loved the team that we did. And I'm all about, if I can get 2 of those top 13 guys, if not 3 of them, Yes, I think it's going to be an enormous edge this year. And I'll say that list goes from like, I'll just read the quick names to you. Barkley, Bijan, Gibbs, then a teardrop, Achane, Genty, Henry, Taylor, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, all that like locked in running back ones. And then tier 3 to me is like you have to have one of these guys as your running back 1, and I would love them to be my running back 2 if I don't have 2 already, is Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, McCaffrey does come in here, and then Breece Hall as my running back.
Does Breece Hall even crack that anymore?
He's the last of the list for me. And he goes late round 3, so that's where I'm kind of like, okay, you could go like Brian Thomas, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. I'm good with that start. Like I'll take Breece.
That's actually not bad.
I think it drops off fast from there. Then you got, like I like Ken Walker a lot, but I think he's more of a round 4 guy, round 5 guy. James Cook is maybe holding out. He's certainly not going to repeat those 16 touchdowns. Kamara was great last year, but he's getting older. Mixon's crusty, but also was great when he was healthy last year. Some exciting rookies like Harvey we talked about and whatnot start to mix in there. But that's where it's like, okay, after those top 13, I might wait till 140 and get Jadon Blue and Bashal Tootin and like start taking my stabs after that. But I really love getting that. It's going to be part of the guy this year. It's like, I'm back to bell cow breeding, baby. I need 2 top 13 guys, no doubt.
Okay, 2 out of the 13. All right. Well, that was actually a surprisingly good question.
That was a great question.
All right, we're gonna
talk about my main philosophy this year. So
we're gonna pivot back to receivers. You might have to write these down because I actually got 10 receivers. Instead of 5. Okay.
I'm gonna open a quick Google Doc. All right, I got it.
All right, so I want you to put these 10 wide receivers in order for the season. Again, I'm going to the top, or at least my perceived, top of the food chain, like we did with the running backs.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hit you with them real quick. And also, I'll just tell you, my follow-up question for that was, is there any rookie you see being a top 10 or even top 15, 20 guy? And it seems like you already said no, you don't. As far as rookie wide receivers. So we don't need to follow up with that. Here's my top 10 wide receivers I want you to rank.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors.
Got it.
Tyreek Hill.
Hill.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
BTJ.
Okay.
Nico Collins.
Yeah.
AJ Brown.
Awesome.
Are those your top 10? And put them in order. And if not, who am I leaving out? Those were the guys off the top of my head. I was just like, yeah, those seem like the top fantasy wide receivers. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You pretty much nailed my top 10 there. The only one that's not inside it right now is Tyreek Hill. He's my wide receiver.
I was going to say he was one I was putting in just because he's Tyreek Hill. I wonder if he's actually outside the top 10.
With them trading Jonnu Smith, it now does become a much closer question if Tyreek Hill should be in the top 10 or not. If he finishes top 10, wouldn't shock me at all. All the other guys you listed are in my top 10. So the guy that replaces Hill is Drake London for me inside the top 10. You honestly almost read them in my exact order as well.
Really?
So I do have Chase above Justin Jefferson. I have those 2 in a tier alone. Chase just lapped the field last year. Him and Burrow, the defense still looks absolutely atrocious. You get like the absolutely smashed by Jamar Chase to knock you out last year. I don't mean to.
No. There's a million things that went wrong for me last year. It was one of those things where I feel like I was up 39 points or something going into the game. And I looked at it and I was just like, I'm going to lose.
You texted me, you go, I'm up 39. I'm going to lose. And it was Ravens versus the Ravens versus Bengals Monday night.
Right. And sometimes you do those texts to like reverse jinx it. But I knew I was just like, you know what? This guy's going to absolutely light me up. And he did.
Spoiler alert, he did. Yeah, I mean, he is just like an absolute different beast to me. Was the most valuable person in fantasy last year. If you the stat I saw the other day while writing the guide, if you had Jamar Chase in ESPN leagues, you had a 72% chance to make your playoffs. Like you didn't have to. It didn't matter who else was on your team. You had a 3 out of 4 shot. Like you could have drafted complete garbage around him, and you probably would still make the playoffs last year because you had Jamar Chase. That's the highest that there's ever been for an advance rate. So Chase has to be number 1. The defense still sucks. You still got Joe Burrow. I don't see any reason why he's just not the clear-cut number 1 guy. Higgins was healthy most of the year, and Chase still it's so clearly now Chase then Higgins in that offense.
Oh, yeah. Remember when we were like, these guys are 1A and 1B?
Yeah.
And they were for a while.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. Jefferson is my 2. I think J.J. McCarthy can swing. I think it's going to be one of the better arms he's ever played with. So if Jefferson was the number 1 wide receiver by the end of the year, wouldn't shock me at all. Kevin O'Connell's system's just always going to be great. Jefferson's always going to be great. The quarterback doesn't matter. Nick Mullins made him a top 2 receiver. Yep. So I'm all about Jefferson still. CeeDee Lamb is my 3rd. Clear-cut top target for Dak Prescott. I know Pickens is there. Maybe draws some defensive attention, helps him feast. But CeeDee Lamb, I can't go away from. Just 2 years ago, he was on pace to break fantasy once they really turned that offense around. I do think those 3 are kind of in a tier. If you want to put Chase in a tier by himself, okay. I then go St. Brown 4 just for his sheer consistency. Always dependable, always guts through his injuries. You got to love ASB, one of the best out there. Neighbors is my 5. If you wanted to flip those, this whole tier you could kind of argue if you wanted to move someone around, but I just love Neighbors. I had him in almost every league last year, and now he did what he did, shattering a bunch of rookie records in terms of targets, receptions, and his quarterback was garbage. Is Russell Wilson good? No. But he's certainly better than Drew Lock, than probably Daniel Jones. And you got the upside of if Jackson Dart's the real deal, or for me, my dream scenario is Jameis Winston somehow becomes the starter there, because I would maybe put Malik Neighbors as the number 1 receiver. We saw like Jerry Jeudy be the best receiver in fantasy with Jameis Winston last year. We've seen Jameis Winston sustain Godwin and Evans as both top 3 wide receivers. I don't know why this guy can't get a starting job, because it is so fun for fantasy. It's so fun for everybody to have Jameis Winston out there. So I really hope Winston does become the starter there. He's clear. It sounds like he's running as a 3rd stringer though. But either way, you got to imagine a dramatic increase in quarterback quality for Neighbors, who just dominates at every layer of the field. And then I go Nico Collins as my next one up. Stud, target hog, decent quarterback. Yeah, you think it's a little early for Nico at 6?
I'm a little surprised, but I'm listening.
Yeah, I don't see much other than a few injuries here and there. Not much love. I guess I'm a little lower on Nakua, -2 ECR. And part of me is like, you could change that up, and I'd be totally fine if you put Nakua 4 on this list. It's just, to me, like Devontae Adams. How can we act like that he's not there? The best receiver in the league for the last decade almost has arrived. Like, it probably is Nakua as the still the main vein. He does what Stafford and McVay like the most, those quick hits. Still going to be a beast there. But, like, Adams is an animal. Like, who's to say Adams isn't better than Puka? Probably not, but could happen. And either way, I can't pretend like he's not going to eat into his targets. So that dinged Nakua still in that clear-cut high-end wide receiver 1 tier for me, but puts him below Neighbors, St. Brown, and Nico, who are the clear-cut, like, there's no debate who's going to get the most targets any given week. And BTJ rounds out those tier. And those guys, all those top 8, like, any of them could go round 1, and I wouldn't bat an eye. I know I'm talking about getting back to bell cow, but I really like a running back, one of those top 8, and then another running back is one of my favorite ways to start, or one of those receivers and then 2 running backs. However you play that out. Drake London's my 9, though. Absolutely thrived with a real play caller, and ultimately, especially when Penix rather took over at quarterback. He finished the season with just like an insane. I'm pulling up the game log. I have to just remember what it was. Let me just pull up Drake London. I believe he had like 40 points and like 20 targets. It was something insane. Yeah, 40.7 fantasy points. And it was on let's see here, 18 target day, 10 catch, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. I do think Mooney was out, but even still, like London he's got everything you want in your wide receiver 1. And if you told me he was the number 1 receiver at the end of the year, I wouldn't bat an eye. I truly think he's got that upside. And then A.J. Brown rounds out the list. It's A.J. Brown. Like, you don't need an argument there.
Okay. All right, so I wasn't that far off. Yeah, I mean,
Tyreek would be the least surprising guy. That's like at the end of the season, you're like, oh, he was top 5. Yeah, of course, it's Tyreek Hill. He was hurt last year. Now John, who's gone, who we just talked about, had 111 targets last year. Yeah, Tyreek Hill was just like, and he's going round 3, like late round 3 in redraft. I mean, that to me, I've been hammering him. I absolutely love the price on Tyreek, and I've gotten him. I have had a few in best ball. I don't do this in redraft, but I've started a few like wide receiver teams. And I ended up with like Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson and Tyreek Hill is like my third wide receiver. And you're just like, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean that's an eggplant emoji.
Yeah, that's gonna slam some targets right there for sure.
Right. All right. So that's actually super helpful. All right. So I'm gonna switch up the order of my questions a little bit just for like some cohesiveness here. I'm just gonna run down these. So let's talk tight ends real quick. We'll keep this one a lot shorter. I just real quick. Is there a difference maker tight end in this year's fantasy, in your opinion? And then quick follow up to that. What is the % chance that Kyle Pitts breaks out this year?
You had to get Pitts in here. I'm so happy you did. Let's answer the easy part of that question first. No, Kyle Pitts sucks. He's never going to be a thing. How many years do we have to tell people? He still gets drafted. Granted, this is the most I've ever drafted Pitts, which is, it used to be 0.
Why?
I've taken a stab only because in best ball even, he falls to like 170. Like sometimes 160,
Really?
170. He's going like tight end 20 something. So everybody else seems to wake up like, yeah, this guy's just not that good. It's still a freakish athlete that like if something, he's still very young. Like he's Travis Kelce didn't have his breakout season until Kyle Pitts is still like 3 years younger than when Kelce broke out. So like, could it somehow happen maybe when he's going around like Brenton Strange and, other late tight ends that are okay, Zach Ertz, who I prefer, who's safer. But it's like, okay, I can maybe get involved in Pitts there. I've dabbled. And when I say dabble, I've probably taken him 3 times in like 300 drafts. Like I don't like to target him. It's just not a complete 0 for me where he's now going as like a Hail Mary tight end. Okay, he's a Hail Mary tight end. That's where he should go. But in terms of like, is there a true difference maker? It's a great question. And I think, yes, there is this year. I think there's actually 3 of them. And my kind of philosophy is I really want to get one of these 3, or I don't want to touch tight end until like the last 3 rounds.
Can I take a stab at who the guys are?
Yes.
All right. I would probably go McBride first, which maybe is crazy.
Not crazy. He's number 2.
Okay. I would probably lean George Kittle's hard to resist.
Number 3.
George Kittle's number 3. And I guess the guy on the Raiders, Bowers.
Yes, number 1, for sure. And so I want one of those 3. And that's where it's like I was just saying, like, yeah, you can't have it all. You can't have 2 top 13 running backs, a top 9 receiver, and a top 3 tight end. Typically, sometimes Kittle will fall to the 4th, and like you can pull it off, which is insane. But typically, you're going to have to invest a top 3 round pick in tight end, which is historically the least valuable position in fantasy. I do think these guys could be that edges. Like it was either the least valuable position in fantasy, or you had Travis Kelce and you won your league because he was that valuable for so long. And I could see any of those 3 putting up those like 18 per game, like Kelce difference maker type seasons. Starting with Bowers, like the clear number 1 receiver for me. Happy to take him anytime in round 2. Certainly if he falls to round 3, there's no doubt about it. Just set the rookie record for catches among all pass catchers, wide receivers, tight ends, insane. And now gets Geno Smith, who just loves dinking and dunking down the field. Huge quarterback upgrade, insane like yards per route run, any efficiency metric you want to toss out there. This guy was ridiculous. And the only thing he didn't really do last year was score a ton of touchdowns. And if this offense just takes a nice step forward because you added Genty, you added some explosive wide receivers on the outside, and you added an actual quarterback and a Chip Kelly offense here, a good play caller, in my opinion, that typically runs a ton of plays. I think Bowers is going to go insane, and he's going to be going like top 5 in fantasy drafts next year. Like one of those, like how Kelce used to be. Like you're taking him at pick 7 or before. Remember, we used to always we would set an alarm, be like, take Travis Kelce at the 101. Like he's that good. Don't forget how big of an edge this is. I think Bowers is going to be that this year.
Right. We would set that like 8 months before the season started or something, just so we could remind ourselves.
And then we would never do it.
No, but he was there was a time, not that long ago that he was such an edge at tight end that it really gave you more of an edge than any other position anybody else you would have taken.
110%. I really do think Bowers has that upside to be that this year. If he, even last year, if you gave me his rookie season last year, but just added 5 touchdowns, I know you can't just add 5 touchdowns, but I do think the Raiders are going to score about I bet you at least a touchdown more per game. And suddenly that's a lot of touchdowns up for grabs as a total offense. I think I really do think it's going to be like that. And this is going to be the last time we see Brock Bowers in round 2 for the rest of his career till he like falls off. I like Kelsey. I love Bowers that much. So yes, he's going to be the true difference maker. Trey McBride was a great toss out though, because he's right in that same vein, young, athletic, and just like the main weapon in his pass attack in terms of the targets. What did he get?
Where did Trey McBride finish in as far as tight ends last year?
He was number 3. It went
okay,
Kittle,
and didn't he not score a touchdown until like week 14 or something?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So
this is why I like the guy, because you're like, oh, if you just added 5 touchdowns to Brock Bowers, well, what if you added like 5 touchdowns to Trey McBride? Even I mean, like the guy still finished in the absolute upper echelon of tight ends and just randomly never got in the end zone.
Yep. Number 2 in targets, catches, yards, air yards, PPR points per game. He was just fed. Yeah. So I'm going to pull my old graph back up here. Like it's like you said, scored 1 total touchdown, maybe 2 on the year. And like you said, not till the end of the season, and still put up these type of numbers at tight end. 75% of his weeks was a top 12 tight end, which isn't crazy hard to do, but this is good numbers. You're 25, 21 without a touchdown from your tight end.
Right, 25 points with no touchdown.
It's crazy. The 30-point week is when he scored his first touchdown on the season. So that's like, okay, what if he does score 8 touchdowns and suddenly we have like 4 different 30-point weeks and a bunch of 15s and 20s as well. So he totally could be the
league winner then.
Oh, absolutely. So yes, I do think Trey McBride could absolutely be in that conversation as a league-winning tight end. The weird thing is, oh, yeah, now we're back. Hold on. All righty. Are you there, Truth? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, one of us froze. I don't know who. I'm moving down to better internet.
I think it might have been me, too. Mine jumped. Right. But, yeah, I'll keep talking about McBride.
Yeah, keep going.
Weirdly, didn't score touchdowns in college as well. And I don't get it. He's 6'4". He's athletic. He's got a good catch radius. I don't know why he doesn't catch touchdowns, but he certainly can. I think. I don't know. Unlike Bowers, where he did score a ton of touchdowns in college, this seems to be a legitimate concern for Trey McBride. It doesn't make sense why it is, and it certainly could and probably should bounce back. But it's good to know that even if it doesn't bounce back, you're getting a guy with this type of weekly ceiling anyways. So, yes, it goes for me, Bowers, McBride, and then Kittle. I mean, the number 1 tight end last year, and then you remove Debo. Over his career with Brock Purdy and Debo out, Kittle averages 18 points per game. Which would have been the number 1 tight end by 4 points last year. Even better than McBride, even better than Bowers. And he goes even later than these guys. I guess he's a little older, sure. And I do have him as my 3rd tight end, but there's like a round and a half difference. There's about a 2-round difference in best ball. So I have about 30% Kittle in best ball. I've done a ton of him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was going round 5 at one point. I was like, I'm taking him in round 5 every single time. I'm not even going to look at the other players. But even in early round 4 nowadays where he goes, I still love it. The only reason I don't have a lot of McBride and Bowers in best ball is because I've just been hammering Kittle so much. So for me, those 3 are the potential difference makers. And otherwise, I'm punting. I don't care about the position if I don't get one of those big 3. But any one of those 3, if not all 3, could be significant edges. And I am making it part of my draft philosophy to try to get one of the 3. No doubt about it.
Obviously, I threw Kyle Pitts in there just because I already knew what you were going to say. And then you were just like, oh, I'm invested in some Kyle Pitts this year. And then you told me it was like 1% invested.
Yeah, not even like 0.3%. It's the fact that I've actually taken him. Like I had not drafted Kyle Pitts once in his career yet. Now that he's 170, sure, I'll sniff him.
I mean, I've done 0 best ball drafts, and I'm almost as invested in Kyle Pitts as you are.
Exactly.
All right. So let's do quarterbacks real quick. First off, just give me your top 3 quarterbacks in order. And if there's someone else who's like in the ballpark of those top 3, feel free to include them too.
All righty. I love that question. And I do think like 3 is a great number. 4 really, in terms of like the elite quarterbacks this year. It's got to be for me Lamar Jackson, number 1,
sure.
Or Josh Allen, number 2. If you wanted to go Josh over Lamar, fine. But Lamar just is coming off the most quarterback points in a single season we've ever seen. And the defense was still actually pretty good.
Can I just jump in real quick? The MVP voting last year, have you looked it over? Didn't it kind of seem like maybe Jackson got hosed?
I do think so. I think he had a better year than Allen. He was more important than Allen. And ultimately, I think it should have been a back-to-back for Lamar. But they probably were just like, hey, you got to get Allen at some point, right?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
It should have been Lamar. Fantasy MVP, real-life MVP. Lamar was unbelievable, and I don't see any reason why that won't be the case yet again. So I go Lamar over Allen. It's close, though. If you wanted to go Josh, we saw back-to-back 50-point days from Josh Allen last year.
Right. He's not bad.
Same tier for me. I have those two. And Jaden Daniels, I think, is right there as a top three quarterback. Absolute stud. In love with Jaden Daniels in fantasy. What we saw in the playoffs, you just see, even by mid-year, a quarterback that just took that next step and looks dominant. I would put him – I'm seeing these quarterback lists come out by pros, not just fantasy rankings in terms of NFL quarterbacks, and he consistently is getting left off the top 10. I think he's a top 5 NFL quarterback. He's a great passer, accurate, ballsy, has the nuts to make the big plays, and then he can run. He's a threat to run for 1,000 yards in a year, and that's kind of the common trend with those big three is all three of those guys have 800-plus rush yard upside every single season. So to me, it's those three, and the fourth right behind them is Jalen Hurts, another one of those Konami. We talk about the Konami code all the time. The cheat code at quarterback is who are those guys that can run it. So he's my fourth. The only other one that you got to mention is Joe Burrow, who's the opposite of those guys. He's not very mobile, statue guy, but that defense still looks atrocious. They might even be worse because Trey Hendrickson, their best pass rusher, their best defensive player, is not on the team anymore. So they could even take a step back somehow from how bad they were. And Burrow just absolutely chucked. I know he has his own health concerns.
Right. He's still Joe Burrow, though.
It's Burrow. It's just Joe Burrow. I wish I had the stat off the top of my head. Scott Barrett had a great one on his podcast recently where he talked about over the certain amount of games and thresholds, and Burrow was just averaging 40 points per game under certain conditions that also apply to pretty much every game this year. So yeah, Joe Burrow, it's the 4 rushing quarterbacks. And then the only other one that could sniff those top 5 to me is Joe Burrow for sure.
All right. I like that list. All right. The follow-up to this question, this is not so much fantasy useful. But I just want, you might need your quarterback list out for this. I want to know, how many quarterbacks in the NFL do you think are better than Aaron Rodgers right now?
You had to bring up Pitts. You know who's going to get me going every time. Aaron Rodgers.
It's been a few months.
The worst, the absolute worst. Oh God. I think he's the biggest loser. We've been long time.
Before you even ran about this, my follow-up, so this is question 8 or so, but question 8A or 8B is, how many quarterbacks in the league do you hate more than Aaron Rodgers? Is the answer 0?
0. He's number 1 on the hate list. There's
okay. All right. So we can just put that out there right now. All right. So
yes.
How many quarterbacks do you actually think are better than him now? Obviously he thinks he's probably a top 3 guy.
Of course he thinks he's a top 3 guy. It's the worst. There's no one to hate more than Aaron Rodgers putting on this circus.
You always have to take, whenever you're talking about Rodgers, you always you'll talk and then you have to stop for a second and take a deep breath. And then you keep going because it's just you can't quite take it.
Swallow back a little puke as the rage starts to bubble to the surface. I can't stand the guy. Fantasy-wise, I have him as the quarterback 31. Horrible fit with Arthur Smith. Awful. If you want me to give an honest answer in terms of where do I think he ranks as a quarterback NFL-wise, not fantasy-wise, arm talent, he still kind of had a couple throws with the Jets last year. I guess he can still hurl it, but man, he was so reckless with the ball.
He was terrible last year.
Such a douchebag. Garrett Wilson said something mean to me because I went on my ayahuasca trip, and he said, you should have been in OTAs with me where we could have worked on this chemistry, and now I'm going to freeze him out. What a petty little bitch. Just such a tool bag, absolute loser. I cannot wait to watch Arthur Smith, the run heaviest play caller, with Rodgers, who just checks his own number because he's a selfish little bitch all the time. That is going to be a fun, just blow up nuclear situation to watch. Horrible fantasy product, horrible offense to watch. In terms of actual arm talent, I'd still say he's probably in the top 25 25. I don't know, though. I'm looking at the list and like not better than Stafford. He doesn't have a better arm than Prescott. I love Drake May. I love Herbert. Like this.
You would literally have to be basing it on like several years ago.
Yes. Yeah, he had a few moments last year, like when he bombed Jacksonville, where it's like, oh, yeah, Rodgers still has it. He sucks. He's a loser. Terrible fantasy locker room guy. I want nothing to do with him.
Fair enough. All right. I'm lobbing you softballs here. All right. These next few are just kind of a little bit outside the box questions, but what are your thoughts on Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce as fantasy guys this year, and who would you draft higher in a draft?
Good question. I think Pat Mahomes is the most overrated quarterback in fantasy.
Well,
and I know it's tough for us to say as early Mahomes adopters and truthers. He was kind of like we first started really doing these things in like 2018, 2017. I don't even actually remember how long it's been. It's probably been a decade almost. And he was like the one that kind of put us on a map.
Are you talking about that we've been doing this?
Yeah.
I think it's been 9 years.
Nuts. That's so crazy.
But the reason I bring up Mahomes and Kelce is like, they're the stereotypical, like people who are casual football fans know who these guys are.
Yes.
Like they're, and obviously it wasn't that long ago that Mahomes was like, yeah, he's our quarterback one. And Kelce was like, he's our tight end one. And like, shoot, maybe we should even be drafting this guy number 1 overall. Obviously a lot's changed. Where do you see these guys going? And like, I mean, do you want either of them?
No, I don't. Mostly, maybe Kelce, like if he falls to a palatable range. But to me, Mahomes, he goes as like the quarterback 5, 6.
That's nuts.
Which is based on name alone, because the guy was the quarterback 14 in points per game last year, quarterback 11 the year before. Despite having top 3 in total pass attempts and pass rate over expectation and pass rate in general, he had all the volume you could ask for, and he's become a screen merchant. There's a stat that no quarterback had more yards come from at or behind the line of scrimmage across the last 2 years than Pat Mahomes, and he was by like 500 yards. He just dinks and dunks and lets the other people do the work, which is fine as a play caller. But this is not the high-flying, bombs away Mahomes where it was 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards and you were just a bonanza when we were in on him. This is a completely different offense, a completely different skill sets and weapons around him. And sure, they'll talk all offseason about how we want to regain our offensive explosivity and identity and push the ball downfield. That's been everything we're doing in OTAs. When push comes to shoves, he's just a screen merchant at this point. I'm not here to say he's not a good NFL quarterback. The guy's the best in the game. If I had anyone, I could pick any quarterback to have a last drive in the current NFL, it'd probably be Mahomes. I do think he is that. He's got the clutch gene. He wins the big games, other than, of course, this year's Super Bowl. I love to see that collapse. Was just absolutely shithoused. But ultimately, to me, Mahomes, fantasy-wise, no interest because he goes way early. If he fell to the hundreds and was going where he kind of produces, there's another stat from Scott Barrett the other day was like, I don't remember the exact number, but it's across 2 years, I think he's crossed over 20 points like 3 times in like 36 games. There's just no ceiling anymore. It's pathetic. So give me Bo Nix. Give me Kyler. I don't actually love Kyler Murray that much. But like these guys that go after him, Justin Fields, who can run for 1,000 yards this year, Brock Purdy, who just gets it done all the time, Goff, who's been a beast. Like there's just so many guys. So I have Mahomes like right around my quarterback 10, 11, and he goes at the quarterback 5, 6. And I think it's purely name value for the quarterback 14 last year. No thanks. I'm just out on him at his price. I won't have any of him. Kelce, it's tight end, so like he's falling now to like the hundreds, and it's like, okay, it's Travis Kelce. Even if you give me what he did last year, I pick 100. That's worthwhile. Like that's not bad. He was still, I believe, the tight end 6 on the season last year. Still got a ton of volume. Really? And apparently he's looking slim and moving around better. I don't know about that. I don't know if I fully buy it, but he will always be. He finished 3rd in targets and catches and 5th in yards last year. Was the tight end 7 in points per game. So, if I get that at pick 100, that's a great tight end pick. So I've hit him a little bit more, but even still, it's like, I just, that's where I'm usually taking my quarterback or a 4th rookie receiver that I really love. So I'm not into the Chiefs. It is crazy. Like you said, like 2 guys that just 2 seasons ago have been like, yeah, they're the clear number 1s at their position. Don't ask a question about it. I don't want either of them really anymore.
Right. And I mean, again, it's funny that, out on the Chiefs, and it's like, yeah, they like either win the Super Bowl or go to the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, exactly. Fantasy wise, I'm out. Would you
Right.
Super Bowl future? I'd take the Chiefs probably over any other team. They're that good every year. But
All right. So a couple more questions, and then we can move on. So this is the last one you probably need to throw a banner up for.
okay,
What's your prediction for the Patriots this year?
Pat's prediction. Ooh, see, I'm all in on this new regime. I love Mike Vrabel. I think Drake May is the truth. He is the real deal. Cannon arm, you can move in the pocket, can run. I like the weapons upgrades. I love that Stephon Diggs is doing pink coke, like he's slapping butts on shits. That's what you want to see from your wide receiver one. I want a diva. I want the guy that's going to be out there.
You want the guy snorting pink coke.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Right.
that's number one receiver behavior. Great. He's looked good. Diggs is
Right,
moving well. Beyond just snorting pink coke, he is moving well on the field as well too. So he looks good. I love Kyle Williams, who they drafted. Trevion Henderson, a huge playmaker. The offensive line scares me. I think there's only so far we can get with this offensive line. They did draft Will Campbell, who I think is going to be a stud. Said he'd give his life for Drake May. Huge fan of that.
Love that.
But like, there's still probably 3 linemen away from actually being a good offensive line, and they're not even. They're still probably a bottom 5 line even with him there. There was a stat. It was like all 5 of their linemen last year were in the bottom. Like they were graded 50 or below by PFF, and they were all like bottom 5 at their position at every single. There was not one single lineman that was like top. Every single starter was like 30 or worse in terms of 32 starters. Like it was crazy how bad they were. They'll be better, but you can only get so far. I think our division does suck, and we have a very easy schedule. We're facing the NFC South as well. So I think the over-under is 8.5 on the wins. It wouldn't shock me if we got to 10 and snuck in as like a wild card. I think the Bills still clean up the division, but I think Miami's a dumpster fire. The Jets are always a joke. And then you face the NFC South, which is a joke division. And suddenly you're looking at like, yeah, maybe 9 wins in a playoff. Like you probably get knocked out round 1, but I think we could sneak in this year.
Would you rather the Patriots won the Super Bowl or you won your most important fantasy league?
I got to go Super Bowl. I want the dynasty back. Like I want to feel good about it. It was just it's been so painful.
I'm a little surprised you say that.
It has been a while since I won the Fez though too. So
right. That's like, what I'm talking about. It's been,
I think I say it live on air, but like secretly I'd go to bed and say, I really would take the Fez. Like,
right. I mean, like there was a time, earlier in the RSJ when you were just, you winning the Fez was not even that surprising of an occurrence, but it's been a while.
It's been like a decade probably at this point. Yeah. Like, not good. It's been bad. I haven't
won my league in probably 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah, we got to get back on it, Truth. This is the year, the rebound year.
Yeah.
It's been ugly. Realistically, I'd probably take the Fez, honestly, because of how bad the drought's been. But I just have felt so bad about the Patriots that, like, it would be so nice.
Can you imagine, though? But can you imagine if somehow you struck this deal with, like, a genie or something like that, and, you won the Fez League, but then somehow it got out to the people of New England that like you picked your personal fantasy team over the Patriots winning? Can you imagine like how these, people in Boston are usually pretty chill about that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They say I totally understand. Yeah. I'd get murdered, dude. I'd get absolutely.
That's something you got to make sure it doesn't get out.
I know.
All right. So 2 more questions, and they're both a little bit self-serving. One is just, I just want your thoughts on this. So I saw a post pretty soon after the season had ended saying, if you had any of these 3 players, you had a great chance of winning your league and you certainly would make the playoffs. And the players were Jaden Daniels, Bucky Irving, and Brian Thomas Jr. I had all 3 of those players and I did not make the playoffs. Thoughts?
That's painful. How did you not?
Right? I mean, like I nailed them all and did not make the playoffs. Now I got within 1 game. As you know, I got flamed by Jamar Chase last week of the season. So I was like, I was in the mix, but I had all 3 of these guys, all 3 of these. Hey, you get this. I mean, I got Jaden Daniels for like $1. I got Bucky Irving for like $2. I got BTJ for like $4. Nailed it. Right. However, if you counter that with Breece Hall, Tank Dell, and Jalen Waddle, which is where you throw all your money, Oh, and I also had Trey McBride. Yeah, didn't make the playoffs.
That
What do
team
you
was
think?
sick. And what will break your heart even more, truth, is like, had you made the playoffs, BTJ was the highest scoring receiver for week 15 to 17. Bucky Irving was the highest scoring running back week 15 to 17. I think Daniels could have been, and Lamar might have been the number one, but he was certainly top 3 in terms of playoff score.
Yeah.
So you would have probably won your title had Jamar Chase not put up 40 points on Monday Night Football.
I noticed. Yeah. Or if any of the other players that I spent like 60% of my draft money on had done anything.
Right. Yeah. Even if you get one of those right instead of the all 3 of them being huge busts, just get one of those guys as the right pick. And
huge busts.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just wanted that on the air. I just wanted because everyone's like, man, if you had even one of these guys. I was like, what if you had all of them? Right.
Yeah, that's painful. You would have won your title last year had
you would see my draft and you would just be like, wow, this guy really, really knew what was up. Except
I bet you this too. You probably, and I was on board for this. I had Brees above Bijan. I bet you could have gotten those 2 guys at the same price. And
I absolutely I could have. We had a long talk about it, and you convinced me. And I'm not even hating on you for this. Like your logic was sound.
Yeah,
we've seen it from Brees Hall. Let's do it.
That was one of my biggest mistakes last year. Was like Brees over Bijan.
It hurt.
It hurt. You would have had a title had you gone Bijan. I am supremely confident you win your league if you had Bijan last year.
Last semi, and I stress semi football related question, and then we can move on. If you were, and this is basically yes or no question. If you were in a zombie apocalypse, would you be better off or worse off if you were traveling with Antonio Brown?
Oh man, that's a great question because it's like
I thought you would appreciate that.
There's so much upside to both situations, right? Because you look at him, he's completely unhinged these days. So it's like that
completely unhinged
works in your favor in many ways. Of like, okay, you can send him to the front lines. He's athletic still, so like he's probably killing a bunch of zombies. He would know how to juke in and out. He could be a great distraction for you to get away. So in that sense, he's great. But it's like, okay, let's say he like helps you survive a swarm. Then you're around the campfire and the guy's like, blowing gasoline at it so it lights you on fire. And you just you couldn't know what's going to happen minute to minute. So like in the heat of the attack, I think I'd like to have him there. But after that, like I want nothing to do with Antonio Brown and the zombie.
I'm picturing kind of like you and him traveling around, like you've each got a horse. You're going around together on horseback. And it's like, and it's just like, you would like never
that movie, like the father and son, like are traveling in this apocalyptic world.
Yeah, but you would never at any point feel comfortable.
Never, ever, no,
ever. No. You would even if you knew there wasn't a zombie for 1,000 miles, you would be like, this going to bed tonight is going to be real tough.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't want him around. Exactly. If that's the case, that's the scenario. It's not like he's like part of your group. It's just you and him. I'd rather be solo. 10 out of 10 times. Yeah, those shows are always like, the real monsters, the humans. It's about illuminating the monstrosity ourselves. Like Antonio Brown has already shown us that you didn't need a zombie apocalypse to show you what kind of demon that guy is.
Yeah, it's like I got good news for you. You're traveling with a in great shape former professional athlete. You're going to be with him all the time. You're like, awesome. That's great.
He's not afraid to murk like 30 zombies at once.
You're like hoping it's like
to go get them. Like,
you're hoping it's like Derrick Henry or DK Metcalf or something like that. You're just like, this is going to be great. Or like a real strategist, like a leader out there, a Brady, an Elway, a Peyton Manning, somebody that can really see. And then they're just like, and here he is, and it's the big reveal, and the curtain opens, and it's Antonio Brown. You're just
like oh shirtless. Exactly. Like, oh God.
All right. Well, I wanted to put that out there. We're on the same page there. Charlie just commented in the comments. Truth, I feel your pain. I had Bucky and BTJ, but I also had CMC, Waddle, and Higgins. I missed the playoffs by a game too. So I'm not alone.
No, you're not. It's great to see some classics here too. Giuseppe Russo has gotten in. Mr. Trey Sarocinco, 305 Pitbulls here. Our guy Thaddeus, I know ball. He loves mixing. I should have rubbed that in. That was from Mo because Mo was hating on Thaddeus during all our best ball drafts. And Thaddeus took him to the tool shed. And then D'Lo, Got some legends here. Happy 4th to all you guys. And any questions, we are going to open up the mailbag as we do an actual non-fantasy draft right now. We're going to do our first ever segment. So just a reminder too, 338 of you here, you love to see it. A thumbs up does help us get out to more people on YouTube or on Twitter. The heart button, that really greatly helps us out. We are going to start making this regular. I haven't locked down the schedule yet. But I love this, like a fantasy morning show. We're kind of considering it like a fantasy radio / live stream that you can depend on every morning, where we interact with you guys, answer your questions, and also have a couple segments and just go live for 2.5, 3 hours. I love it. Like Hillary loves it. But ultimately, it's just, this is my favorite way to talk fantasy. I love writing the guide. It does well for everybody, and I enjoy it. But there's nothing better than shooting the shit with the truth and doing drafts and talking ball. So we're going to hopefully get a regular schedule, whether it's like Monday, Wednesday, 8 to 11 every time. So if you enjoy this, stick around. Make sure you hit the subscribe button or the follow on Twitter, because we'll be here often, and we want to make it a back and forth. But one of the traditions we wanted to do is start doing a draft at the end of every episode. So if you're only here for fantasy and you could care less about what else we have, that's totally fine. I get it. But we are going to do draft every single end of episode. And so I am going to pull up, I just made a quick chart here as well, fast food draft.
Wow.
So I'm going to pull up it's a Google Doc. It's nothing fancy. Don't get me wrong here. So let me open that. But I wanted a way to record it as we drafted, fast food draft. So just a quick table. I'll zoom in. So
that's nowhere near as fancy as I really thought this was going to be fancier.
Oh no, yeah, like McDonald's, like icon.
Yeah, with like their logo and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, maybe someday we'll get there, but I had to put something together.
By the way, any of these establishments that want to sponsor this, we would gladly take your money.
Oh yeah, please do.
Fast food draft. I mean, those of you, everybody here is eating fast food at some point in their life. I used to eat a lot more fast food when I was younger. I don't eat much now, but obviously, it still happens from time to time, and I still really appreciate it. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. Some of the things I used to eat, I look back on it and I'm just like, I can't believe my body was able to take that.
Yeah.
But moving in qualifications, first thing we want to talk about, Wolf, is what qualifies as fast food.
Exactly. I texted this way. I woke up at like 6:40 and I was like,
In a sweat.
And I just wanted to make sure, are we talking fast casuals included or strictly fast food? And so in my mind, and I'm open to pushback by all means, but to me, there's a price level and there's a quality level, and fast food is like the bottom of both of those. So Chipotle, for example, do you get your food fast? Yes, but that's at a quality level and experience level that I would jump more to fast casual. And we're talking establishments too. I do think there's a whole separate draft where you could do just fast food items. That would be fun.
Well, I've got that prepped.
Okay, we could maybe toss that out there. I don't have it fully prepped, but
no. We could do it another time. But I'm just saying the thoughts crossed my mind.
Yeah, so we're not doing singular items today. Certainly would be a good draft. I mean, cheesy gordita crunch, hammer 101 at that point. But yes, to me, it's lower the price and quality / healthiness should be low. It can't be
low.
Low. Drive-through, typical. Now, granted, Subway to me, that doesn't often have a drive-through. I would call that fast food.
Subway is fast food.
Fast food, right. But Jersey Mike's or, these fast sub places, Jimmy John's, probably not fast food to me. I think Subway, yes. Five Guys is a good one to toss out there, right? That might be a little bit too high quality. It's cooked to order. I don't know if I like that for my fast food. So
it's on my list with a question mark next to it.
Me too. Yeah. So we got to decide, I do think there's a kind of clear gap between fast casual and fast food, and Chipotle's, the Five Guys, that would be more of your fast casual. Whereas fast food is the Mickey D's. We know what they are.
We know. We don't have to spell it out for you.
And so we'll draft, and if there is one that's you toss out there, I'm
well, we can argue about it.
And if they're old, we'll argue. And I think if we have to have a decider, we can just type in on Google and just see what the AI at the top tells.
And also, anybody that's still with us, feel free to jump in on this. I know,
right? And
you guys
I'm going to put the team up here, and I want to know who you guys at the end think kill it. So we still have 340 of you. You're sticking around for it. I love it. Thank you guys so much. Do you want the first pick or the second two?
I'll let you go first.
All righty. And I guess the other thing, like, I do want to ask too, are we basing this on like what we think is the most delicious, or what we like, if this was ripped out of our life suddenly, what would like hurt us the most? Like, I would be sad to say there's no more of this restaurant. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think there's probably some crossover on the Venn diagram.
A little both. Yeah, true.
I mean, throw it out there and then explain why you did it.
All righty. First pick for me. So I'm going to go, I'll type a 1 in here. I'm going Taco Bell.
That certainly would have been in my, that would have been there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, to me, I can't pass a Taco Bell without stopping. Thankfully, there's not one within, like, I have to go like 15 minutes or so to get to one. So I don't typically go out of my way to get Taco Bell. But if I pass it, I'm stopping. There's no doubt about it. I think a cheesy gordita crunch is the singular best item for fast food. And so when I pick the best item, I'll go with Taco Bell because there is so much more you can get there too. You don't have to only get a cheesy gordita crunch. You can get the $2 cheesy beefy burrito. It was really bad where we had our appointments for Josie before she was born. Like Hillary's like pregnancy prenatal stuff.
Oh, listen,
there's a Taco Bell right next door. So
I don't know if Hillary. I mean, I know what you can handle, but I don't know about Hillary. But I can tell you that when Anna was pregnant, she was a remorseless eating machine.
Yes.
And, going to Taco Bell, something like that. I mean, when I was in college, Taco Bell was like 99 cents. Like you could get like a wheelbarrow full of food for like $5. And with my family, like we don't eat out much because we don't have very much money. Because once you have kids, you're going to see once you have kids, you won't have very much money either. But every now and then, special treat, we're just like, hey, let's go out to eat. And very frequently, Taco Bell is the out to eat option for our family.
I love it.
And we love it.
It is crazy how you bring that up too. Like, I remember it used to be a challenge. Like, can you eat the whole value menu? And every item was $1. There's like 12 items. And I would give it, you'd pay $12 and you'd get 12 different things. There's like the enchilada or like the cheesy roll up and like all these different things. That was the GOAT. You could get the party pack of tacos, like 20 of them for like $10. And my cousin and I would see like who could eat more. And you just feel so horrible.
Yeah. That's the thing about Taco Bell. You feel terrible, but man, it's good going
exactly. And that's kind of why it's at the top of the list too. Is like, it is going to just destroy your bowels. Like it's just like something about that. It's just cleansing. It's horrific. I love the food. I can't help but stop. And I would always be coming from work. So me and Hills would never go together to these appointments because I'd be coming from work and we'd meet there. And there's like time I was like 3 minutes late and I didn't realize I had like nacho cheese on like the side of my like lip. Like, you were late and you stopped at Taco Bell, didn't you?
You're like, no.
Is Taco Bell more important than our child?
Right.
No, but it's close.
No,
so
like
for me, it has to be number one in that sense. Taco Bell, just so versatile, like the Jamar Chase. It's explosive. It's explosive in. It's explosive out.
That's a great.
It's the Jamar Chase for me.
All right, that's a great pick. It would have. I'm not sure. It really might have been my number one pick too, but it was either going to be my 1 or my 2.
Yeah.
But since you took Taco Bell, I'm going to take number 2. I'm going to take Popeyes, which I absolutely just love. There is a Popeyes right next to where I get my car worked on, and it's like a real treat. You just walk there because your car is getting worked on, so you can't drive anywhere, and you just walk there, and it's like. If not for the Popeyes, I would just hate having my car worked on because you're just sitting there for 2 hours. But I go in there and I hunker down. I come in there. I've got my computer. I've got an iPad, and I order multiple different meals throughout the course of the time that I'm there. The spicy chicken sandwich from Popeyes is an absolutely elite menu item. I could do it all day long. So that's where I'm coming in at number 2. I'm also relatively late to the game on Popeyes. It's only in the past few years that I've even discovered
it. They actually put one up near where we used to teach too, which would have been deadly. I feel like we would have ended up there all the time.
It's incredible.
I'm just picturing you right now, like slashing your tires, like, oops, gotta go get car work done again before you eat like 7 meals at Popeyes.
It's a silver lining, definitely.
Exactly.
All right.
Just
So
damaging your car on purpose to get to Popeyes.
I absolutely love it. All right. So now we get a little bit, because those were my clear top two.
Okay. Teardrop for you.
Yeah. I mean, as far as just the food that I'm consuming, Five Guys would be up there for me. But if you're talking about price, I mean, it's ridiculously expensive. And you have to sit there and wait for it. So I don't know. I don't know if I would.
Let's rule out Five Guys, because I had it on my list. And granted, it is the best burger of probably any of these places we're going to talk about, but it is too slow and it's too high quality and it's too expensive. I can't. I'm calling that fast casual. We're not taking Five Guys.
All right, so I'm going to go just absolutely blue chip here for my next pick. And I honestly feel like embarrassed even picking this. I'm going to say McDonald's for my next choice. And
they weren't making it back to you. I promise you that.
I'm putting it out there. It's my next choice. Like, there's a lot to hate about McDonald's, but at the same time, so when I took the 6th grade trip to Utah, where we used to work, and we had been in like away from civilization for like 10 days or something like that. And we came out and there was like, we hadn't eaten real food in a really long time. And we stopped at a McDonald's, and it was me and you probably remember Damien.
Yeah.
And we came out and they had a menu item that I'd never seen anywhere before, and I've never seen it anywhere since. And it was a 50-piece chicken nugget. And I was like, give me one of those. And I mean, I'm still talking about it now. This was like 15 years ago, probably. And it was the most incredible thing ever.
Yes.
Chicken nuggets from McDonald's. Every now and then you'll get like a bad one, but man, oh man, a 20-piece chicken nugget is like the best thing. Also, the fries at McDonald's, especially when I was younger, were like the best ever. They're not quite as good now, but if you just took fries and chicken nuggets from McDonald's, that's enough right there for me to put it this high on the list. Also,
Absolutely.
for some reason, they don't serve. Like, I'm not like when I was a kid, I used to love orange soda, and McDonald's didn't have orange soda. They had orange high C. For some reason, the orange high C really hits with this stuff. No one else has
the orange high C.
Yeah, you know.
100%, I know. McDonald's was 100%. Like, I consider them at 1 overall. Like, in terms of just sheer, like you said, blue collar, workhorse back, like
real lunch pail type.
You're hitting that thing 300 times. Carries, and it's just still sustaining for you. Like, every now and again, a bad performance, the nugget comes out a little mushy, but chicken nuggets would be after cheesy gordita crunch for me in terms of like top item. Love the chicken nuggets. There was a deal.
Sour sauce? Are you a sweet and sour sauce guy?
100%. I will get like 3 cups and
we're on the same page.
I'll take a sip of it if it's like
I will drink what's left in the little
100%. Like, I'll dip my fries in, and if there's still a little bit in there, it's disgusting.
Don't you think they should sell that stuff like by the bottle?
Why
like
wouldn't
in the grocery store?
I would get it every single time. It's the best. McD's is so good. There was a deal for a while where it was called Miss for McNuggets, and if the Celtics, like the opponent, missed in the 4th quarter a free throw, you could get 10 nuggets for it was like buy anything for $2 and get 10 pieces of nugget for free. I would do it every single time it popped up on the app. It was disgusting. The nuggets are so good. The breakfast McMuffins, like that's the versatility too. You're talking about like a Saquon here. You got receiving, you got rushing, the McMuffins. My move lately, dude, they had the new tender strips. I haven't even tried those yet because I just can't get away from the nuggets. But a sauce they have is like it's called creamy. Get a cup of that with a McMuffin.
Hey,
oh my God. Like,
have you had, how about like the speaking of breakfast, I like, sausage on like the McGriddle, like the pancake type thing. Oh my God.
Of course.
Get out of here.
The bagels aren't bad either. The hash browns. You had to go them in the top 3. The fact that they even fell to 3 is kind of like a slap in the face to McD's, because they are the most iconic, the most consistent, probably the most like usage out of any of us, for sure. McD's is the best.
The thing is, like, if I'm with my wife and we're going to like hit fast food, which is rare, like I said, it's going to be Taco Bell or Popeyes. Like, it's not going to be McDonald's. I'm not gonna be like, hey, sweetie, let's hit McDonald's. She'd like laugh in my face. But the other 2, like the top 2 would do it, which is probably what ultimately put Popeyes at 2 and McDonald's at 3 for me. But there's probably more menu items at McDonald's that I still go nuts for.
Yeah, I love it. It's definitely the bell cow there. Well, I'm going to take Wendy's at 4.
It's
I
on
think
my
the
list.
best burgers of like you're thinking Burger King, Wendy's, and McDonald's are kind of like the big three. Could I toss in? So this is actually what I was going to ask. Like, can we even put In-N-Out on here? Because granted, like In-N-Out's like
I put In-N-Out on my list, but I don't think that it. I mean, first of all, it's extremely like regional, right?
Exactly. Very hard to get access to. And that's closer to Five Guys to me. Like it's good quality. It's the prices. It's not too expensive. That's like a step above what we're talking about. I just wanted to make sure 'cause I was going to hammer them.
You would feel a little dirty putting it in the same conversation as Taco Bell.
Yeah, I'm just making sure because I would have just hammered them right now, but I had a feeling.
No.
To me, Wendy's is like the closest you're going to get to that type of burger from an actual fast food place. The Baconator when you want a heart attack.
Baconator.
Phenomenal.
It's on my fast food items list.
Yeah. So good. Even just like a JBC, the Junior Bacon Club, like for $1.29. The nuggets aren't great there. You got to go McDonald's for nugs.
When you start calling fast food items by their initials, that's when you know you're like absolutely in. Like, yeah, you go up to it and you just go like, give me a couple JBCs. And, that's when you know that you are committed to the bit. No, I'm back. Oh, we must be frozen.
Here we go. You back?
I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, I was just ranting about calling fast food items by initials.
I heard it all. Yeah, you order a couple JBCs. I'm fully with you. 2 JBCs, 2 CCs. I do think Wendy's, though, very underrated spicy chicken sandwich as well.
Very good.
Very good. Not quite Popeyes. I'm with you there. But I do like their spicy chicken sandwich quite a lot there. So they got good range between the burgers, the spicy chicken. They serve salads. I'm never going to order a salad there, but if you wanted a salad,
but I've heard good things.
Yeah, some healthy there. Their chili's surprisingly pretty decent.
My wife loves Wendy's chili.
Yeah. So I think Wendy's can do a lot for you. I think it's very worthwhile. And a Frosty. How am I going to talk about Wendy's and not talk about like Frosties? Unbelievable. If there was like one downfall of McDonald's, I love a McFlurry, but the ice cream machine never works,
right.
So
no, it never works. I like McDonald's shakes, but
the shakes are so good. Yeah.
Like I'm not even like a big vanilla guy, but man, a vanilla milkshake from McDonald's is delicious.
So good. And McDonald's Coke, like an ice cold Coke. I love the lava.
It's better for McDonald's. I heard somewhere the reason McDonald's Coke tastes better is that they get it delivered in like these like it's like most places the syrup or whatever gets delivered in like a big plastic bag or whatever.
Yeah.
And McDonald's it gets delivered in like either like glass or like steel containers or something like that. Yeah, I heard it. I don't know if it's true, but man, McDonald's Coke is the shit, man.
It slaps. Yeah. The lava burst is so good though, too. The high C. That's usually my go-to. I know we're talking about Wendy's here, though, but yeah.
I actually feel bad. The people at Wendy's are probably not thrilled that we've literally circled back and we're talking about McDonald's.
I know. Our sponsorship money from Wendy's is dwindling down the drain, unfortunately. But again, Wendy's versatile, best burgers of the big three. Frosties are great. You can always depend on the ice cream machine to work. So I like Wendy's a lot. And I'll put it. You let me know if I can actually draft this, but I love Chick-fil-A. Is that a fast food?
Yeah, you're allowed. It's on my list.
Okay, cool. Just the Chick-fil-A, we talk about the sweet and sour from McDonald's. Chick-fil-A sauce is right at that level of like, and it's grosser because it's not sweet. It's like thicker. It's like mayo, but I would lick those cups. Like it's disgusting. How much I love the Chick-fil-A sauce. They do actually sell that in stores too. Like I've squirted it. it's horrible.
I've seen sauce. It. Yeah.
But yeah, just so good every time. The chicken sandwiches are good. The nuggets are great. It's rarer, so like it also feels more like a treat when you get it compared to these other ones. So for me, I think Chick-fil-A's got to be in the top 5.
You also like you really feel the pain sometimes when you're you're at a rest stop on like the New Jersey Turnpike or something, and Chick-fil-A's in the thing, but it's Sunday.
It's Sunday. Oh, right. And you're fine. You're so excited to finally get it, and then boom, it's closed on Sunday.
All right. Well, we're getting down into it now, and it's like I kind of cringe every time I think I'm going to mention one of these things, but I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do this thing right now since we've already talked about like how these things make you feel. I'm going to go number 6. I'm going to go Domino's.
As you were prefacing it, I was like, he's going to say Domino's, isn't he?
Yeah. So
I love it.
I mean, Domino's is cheap. You can get a lot of pizza for your money at Domino's, and it just is so tasty. And like they've got that, like, you know, the dipping sauce for the crust and stuff like that. Speaking of all of things that I lick the container when it's done and stuff like that. You know, there's always deals. You could get like 3 pizzas for like $20 or something and just absolutely go nuts. And then you feel so terrible and you regret it. And you're like kind of taking stock of your life. Like, how have I gotten to this place? Like, you know, I got a great wife, I got kids, you know, I got a house, I got pets. Like, there's people in the community that think I'm a decent guy. And here I am just lying here, like maybe like with no shirt on, just like, you know, pieces of pizza just resting on my chest.
Marinara sauce.
Right, just everywhere. It's like, oh, man. But you know, I'm apologizing for it, but at the same time, I'm defiant. And I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to apologize for this. 100%. I'm not going to apologize for the amount of Domino's pizza that I'm capable of eating. There's one right down the street from my house.
Yeah.
There's 4 pizza places in our town, and our town's relatively small. And Domino's is by far like the cheapest. And like you can order it online and stuff. So we don't get Domino's much because it's like a much less quality product.
Yeah.
But man, it's comforting knowing it's there.
Yeah. I fully agree. It's funny you bring them up right now too, for all those reasons you
Go
mentioned.
ahead.
Like not even 3 Monday. We were over, it was Sunday night. We were over at our neighbor's house. So we're like meeting the neighbors, having some beers, and didn't really get anything ready for food. And we have a Domino's right on the street. I haven't had it in probably a year, maybe 3 years. I don't know the last time I had it.
It's been probably a couple of years for me.
It had been a while, but those commercials for the new Parmesan stuffed crust, which if it's been a couple of years, you probably haven't had their stuffed crust yet, which is incredible. We ordered the 2 for $5.99. The stuffed crust was like $2. We got 2 pizzas. We got the stuffed cheesy bread. It was like, you got to add another pizza just because it's so cheap. We can add another one for $5 more. Like,
right,
all
might as well. Right, you might as well get another pizza, another entire pizza.
Exactly. Oh, we'll have dinner for the week, and then you have it. You feel horrible, like you said. The smells coming out of me the next day were just like Hills. I thought Hills might divorce me over. This is one of the farts I woke her up with.
It's not the craziest thing I've ever
in bed that night. It was absolutely horrific. And then the next day we have this like a whole pizza left over, and it's just like, are we really going to do this 2 nights to ourselves in a row?
And you did.
And you did. And it felt god awful. I'm still recovering from it. But man, it's like you said, when you're eating it, one, how much you get for how cheap it is a great bang for the buck. You can't get that much food anywhere else for that price. Man. And it is so satisfying. The garlicky, like it's come a long ways. It used to be really, really bad, and you knew it was bad, and you still ate it. But now,
it actually tastes good now. Remember, not that long ago, their CEO came out maybe 5 years ago and was like, "Listen, like it was an amazing marketing campaign." He was like, "Listen, we get it. Our pizza tastes terrible." And he was like very upfront, and we're like, "Hey, I respect this guy's integrity." So now we're doing. So yeah, that's where I'm at with Domino's. I mean,
Sheppy brings up a good point too. The lava cakes, like cinnamon twists, like they have dessert.
I've gotten my daughter some lava cakes at McDonald's. I mean, at Domino's.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. I'm Domino's, and the haters can, you hate. I'm gonna shake it off. All right. So next one. We're in New England. I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm going to say Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' stole it from me. I was really hoping to get to the 8.
Really? I mean, we're talking about what do we use? I mean, there's a Dunkin'. There's 2 Dunkins in this town, in this very small town. And I mean, so yeah, we're dropping by. Whether it's my kid wants some munchkins, or the breakfast sandwiches are incredible. Obviously, coffee's good. They got these energy punch drinks, which are coffee times 10 that you can just drink if you really want to get wired and get stuff done, and also just be looking over your shoulder all day. And hash browns. They got this thing called snack and bacon, which is just a little paper like McDonald's fry thing, but it's just bacon, which I haven't had, but it looks wonderful. They got donuts. Obviously, the muffins are great. Culottes on a hot day. Like, let's go. Domino's or Dunkin'. Let's do it. I don't even think they're called Dunkin' Donuts anymore. I think they're just called Dunkin'.
Yeah, I think they are too. Honestly, once you went Popeyes, I was considering Dunkin' at 5 because I was like, he's not going to take Chick-fil-A and Popeyes, right? And you might have. I don't know if you would have.
No, I wouldn't have. I would have gone Domino's.
I wish I had snuck Dunkin' in at 5 there because, like you said, in terms of everyday use, I probably stop at Dunkin' more than any of these just for the coffee alone. Not a diehard of their breakfast sandwiches, but it gets the job done when you need it.
Not a diehard, but I've eaten plenty.
Yeah. Like they used to have that $5 like coffee sandwich hash brown deal. Slam dunk. Dunkin's is a great choice. It should have been my 5, to be honest. I was trying to read the room like you do in a fantasy draft. Is this guy going to sneak in and that? I almost was going to go Dunkin' at 5 because I didn't think you'd double tap on the chickens. I wish I had made my move there for sure. Oh, that you sniped 2 of mine, to be honest.
I'm feeling pretty good about my draft right now, Wolf. I'm not lying.
You should be. It's pretty stacked. My follow-up would be do you consider Starbucks fast food?
Yes, if we're gonna call Dunkin' that, I mean, it's on my list also. I went Dunkin' because we're in New England. I know if fans were gonna vote on this, I would get a lot more love from Dunkin'. You would come off as a little bit more of an elitist. Yeah, picking Starbucks. There's a Starbucks in our town now, and a lot. It does very well, but there's all these people here that just hate on it just because it's Starbucks, even though it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's snobby. Don't get me wrong. And the one thing I really never went to. I always went to Dunkin's over Starbucks, but recently they started doing a thing. If you get a for here coffee, they'll give you a free refill as many times as you want. And so if I'm going to bang out work. Which Hills will give me a couple hours a day. There's a Starbucks right up the street. So if anything went wrong, I could be right back home. So I like Starbucks a lot more over the last month since they reintroduced that. Otherwise, I never go. It is rare to find DD's versatility this far down the board. 100% agree, Charlie. To me, Starbucks is like Dunkin', but classier. But I would rather have had Dunkin's. I wish Dunkin's fell to me. It's a little pricier. I only go there for the free refills at this point, but I love the caramelized coffee there. Or no, French vanilla rather. Their caramelized coffee sucks. Dunkin's caramel is amazing. And Starbucks has a very good French vanilla. So I do like Starbucks. I don't eat there often though. That's why I let it fall. I eat far more often at Dunkin's. But I had to have a coffee place on there. So if you took Dunkin's, I was going to go Starbucks no matter what. Which is exactly
the atmosphere, at least in our town. And I've been to hundreds of each of these places, but the Dunkin', there's 2 of them. And, there's 6 tables with just these very bare bones, booths and chairs there. It's very small. And the Starbucks is this expansive. There's all these couches. It's lit 10 times as big as either of the Dunkin' Donuts. It's catering to a different clientele, shall we say? And with that said, their coffee's amazing.
It is. It's complete. Starbucks borders on the fast casual line. That's if you told me I can't draft it, I wouldn't have argued too much.
Where were you getting coffee from when I was talking to you on the phone yesterday?
McDonald's. We didn't even bring up coffee.
I want to just throw something in because we're getting late in the draft. I know we're not going to be on much longer, but I just want to throw something into the public, and I want to mention it to you too. So I was talking to Trakoff on the phone yesterday, and we hadn't talked in a little while, so it was nice to catch up. We're talking. He's being perfectly pleasant to me, tone of voice and everything like that. And then as we're talking, he just pivots and he's talking to someone in the drive-through or someone at the counter or something at wherever he's getting coffee from. And the thing that was striking to me was how many degrees more friendly you sounded to the person you were talking to in the restaurant than you were to me. It was like talking to me. He's like, yeah, truth, blah, blah. And he turns, he's like, yes, I'm here to pick up a coffee for, like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, he was just the nicest, most polite guy you've ever met. And I was just like, I guess he's kind of been talking to me kind of like a dick, because like I didn't realize he had this level of politeness just in the chamber. But man, once he pivoted to that employee, it was a whole different game.
There you go.
The one thing I can say unequivocally about the Wolf, he treats these fast food workers with plenty of respect, which actually I appreciate.
They do the Lord's work, and so many people are such assholes to him for no reason.
It's
and
true.
Look down on him. It's like I could never. I respect my skills a lot in terms of different things in writing and blah blah. I could never survive 2 hours doing a fast food job. I don't.
You'd
think.
never
It's so
survive.
fast and hectic. Like,
it would be really tough. And I talk to my wife and my kids a lot of times about deal. Obviously, I'm happily married, not going anywhere, but like deal breakers when you're talking about like a relationship, someone who's like rude to like restaurant or fast food employees, like that would be like, yeah, I can't be with you. Sorry.
Exactly. Like, what's the point? What do you gain from?
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's the biggest turn off, both for friends and for like a romantic relationship, just about that you could possibly throw at me. Yeah. So I although I felt I was getting shortchanged on the politeness a little bit, I would rather you pivoted that way than the other way. Or if you like turned and you were just like, hey, fill that coffee cup up.
Yeah.
Right.
Looks like shit. Make it again.
Right. Do it again. Where's the manager?
Exactly. In terms of rounding out the draft, it's hard to. I don't love this place by any means. It's probably not the best tasting ever, but it comes through for me every time.
We're qualifying the bottom of the draft so much right now. We're like, hear me out. Oh God, I was gonna go there with my next.
It's Burger King, baby. It's like, all right, McDonald's is closed at midnight. I'm not. Some nights I will make the trek out to the 15-minute away Taco Bell. Depends how many I've had and if I feel safe doing so. But if not, there's a BK up the street. It's open at 4 a.m. It's if I've had a long night playing poker with the boys, it's come through for me. I like the long chicken sandwiches. If you get a good hot one of those, they're great. Not a diehard Whopper guy. I know a lot of people, you got a big burger.
No, I'm not a diehard Whopper guy either.
Don't like the Whoppers. They used to have like the King burger where it was like a double stack with the King sauce on it. I swear, it's also nostalgia for me because like that was my senior year when I'd sneak out at lunchtime and smoke a little doobie and then we'd go to the BK right up the street and just get the BK triple stacker every time. It comes back every now and again, so there's nostalgia to it. I actually like the BK fries. I think a lot of people hate on them.
Good.
They're good. It's certainly the lowest. The nuggets suck. I don't like the nuggets at all. The sauces aren't the best.
I mean, they suck, but they suck because you're comparing them to something that's
sure.
Like, you would be like, yeah, this is fine. Like if you were on, and this is, by the way, just as a teaser, for other drafts we're going to do in the future, desert island foods. If you're stranded on a desert island, what foods would you? That's another one that's in the chamber. If you were on a desert island and I said, hey, all you can have is Burger King nuggets, you'd be like, great.
Sure, I could live off of.
That's better than like hunting.
Yes, exactly. I would definitely take Burger King nuggets over hunting for my prey, for sure. But it's nothing special. There's not like a single thing I can point to that's like, they knock it out of the park. But it's dependable. It is. And it's always open. Like it just doesn't close.
Who is Burger King? Fantasy football. Who's the fantasy football equivalent of Burger King? Like Adam Thielen?
Yeah, Thielen. I was going to go David Montgomery, which is probably a little too high.
Great
like
comp.
It just gets you your 10 points a week, and you're fine with it. But Montgomery has like the upside of if Gibbs goes down, he could be like the best running back in fantasy. Burger King doesn't have that. So
no,
Thielen is
it's never going to be the best.
Yeah, Thielen's more of the accurate. It's lower on the draft list too. But it's like the end of the night, you got to get some points from something. Sure, Adam Thielen. I'll toss him into there. Yeah, Burger King Thielen. That's a good comparison right there.
All right, last, and I mean, we're down here. So, I mean, like, I'll just tell you, I would have considered KFC. Except
Charlie killed it, by the way. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but Pittsburgh Najee Harris is like a great Burger King. Just like empty calories. Like
nicely done.
That's a great comparison,
done, Charlie.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. No, I don't mind that. For interrupting for that, I'm happy to give it up. So I considered KFC for the 10 spot, but I've already got Popeyes. It's kind of like with McDonald's and Burger King. It's like I already have already have the better one, so I'm not going to go to KFC for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go outside the box here since we're rounding out the top 10. I'm trying to have a versatile portfolio. So I've got the classic burger, chicken, fries, McDonald's. I've got pizza. I've got the coffee shop. I've got the chicken. I'm trying to round out the portfolio. And I don't know if you even have too much experience with this, but I'm going to round it out at number 10 with Arby's roast beef.
Oh, man. Arby's.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, and the Arby's wasn't around where we were. So when we'd go across the bay to I'm from the Eastern Shore of Virginia. So we'd go to Norfolk, Virginia Beach sometimes there. Or if you went up the road to Salisbury, Maryland, you might encounter an Arby's. So I had occasion on a couple times to go to Arby's. And and then when I got older in college, there are Arby's around. And I'm telling you, you talked about puffing a little bit and then showing up and eating Burger King. Throw down in 3 of those roast beef sandwiches with the soft sauce on it, in the middle of the night. I have a certain amount of nostalgia for that I'm just going to throw in there and really appreciate. It served me well on many a late night. And would it have made my list if I wasn't trying to round out the portfolio? Maybe not. I might have picked something else. But we talked about Jersey Mike's and stuff not being an option, so I'm not going to go there. I'm not doing Subway.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Arby's than Subway. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to put it out there. Sorry, Jared Fogle. I'd rather have Arby's.
Their curly fries are very good, too.
They're delicious. Arby's curly fries? Come on.
Very good curly fries. I would say the only thing I have on Arby's, I've only been a couple times. It isn't very often out here. But I know you used to live out here in the North Shore of Mass, and that roast beef is a big thing out here. You can get a great roast beef 3-way sandwich with the sauce, cheese, mayo. Arby's doesn't even sniff like those.
No, of course not. I mean, me and remember Mike Brown, we used to go to Kelly's roast beef all the time when we were out there. And I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but we used to go there all the time. And obviously I would never select Arby's over that.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about, I'm looking at the thing, price and quality, healthiness, low. I feel like Arby's checks those boxes. Low healthiness, low price, low quality. They got to drive in. I'm going Arby's. And I concede that there are many roast beef joints much, much better.
Perfect. I think it's a fair way to wrap up the list for sure. The only one, so there's a couple, I wrote down best available, and I know we got to get running.
Yeah, who's the best available on the board?
But there was a few I was considering at 9, and you may have considered. Dairy Queen, I wanted to toss out there as a portfolio diversifier, as you said.
I thought about it.
A Blizzard is the best, but it's really comes down to Blizzards or bust for me. I'm never eating a hot dog or a burger from Dairy Queen, so it didn't cross my list. And I'll toss out Sonic, but I feel like Sonic's pretty overrated. The commercials make it look so good, and it never feels good when you eat it.
I have a couple. I have a couple also comments here. Fun facts. I have 2 fun facts for you. One, I've never eaten at Sonic before.
Okay. Wow.
Ever. And 2, and this one you might find even more interesting. I've never had a Big Mac before.
Really? Ever?
In my life.
Wow. Yeah. I don't eat them often, but I've had it. I've tried a Big Mac. But I will say this, you know what, Truth? I shouldn't act as shocked as this. It was only 3 years ago when I had my first Big Mac because I used a coupon for it. I always go with the quarter pounder or double quarter pounder if I'm getting a burger from McDonald's. So
me too. It's never happened. I kind of feel like I should probably eat one before I die.
It's good.
I mean, they're number 3 on our fast food draft.
Yeah. You got to have a Big Mac.
I got to have the signature sandwich at some point.
Yeah.
But I've never eaten at Sonic. I've been tempted before, but I've never had it.
Wow. Yeah. I've only had it once, and you kind of have to go out of your way to get there. So
Me too. It's 20-25 minutes away.
It's certainly not worth going out of the way for. I don't know if there's really any others that we didn't draft. Is there any other KFC was one?
Well, I mean, there's the mall food cart like Sparrow and Quiznos and Hardee's.
Would you consider the mall, the food court, Panda Express? Would that?
I thought about Panda Express. It wouldn't have made my top 10, but I did think it was a legitimate. Because, I mean, you order it and they just hand it to you.
Yeah. I mean, if we're doing single items, the orange chicken from Panda Express.
Orange chicken from Panda Express. Don't sleep on it.
is about as good as it gets. So if we get to our singular item draft, I might have. I didn't know if Panda Express would be more fast casual versus fast food. I think it's right on that line.
Yeah.
The orange chicken's so good. Awesome. Well, this is fun. I'll tweet this out and see who people vote upon as the winning team for fast food here.
I'm interested to know. I like my squad.
Yeah, you're both squads are pretty stacked. I would say.
I really covet the Taco Bell pick. I really do, but I feel like I've rounded it out pretty good.
You did, and I really think like the Domino's Dunkin' back-to-back really.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I might have
value.
won this in the mid rounds.
You did. Like you got the blue collar McDonald's. It could have been number one any given year. The Saquon, if you took him number one right now, totally fine with it. I went for the more big play with the Taco Bell, but McDonald's shouldn't have lasted to 3. But I like my stock here. I think I got some decent ones. So Charlie says Cookout. I've never had Cookout before. Have you ever heard of Cookout?
No, and I'm even from Virginia, so I am. I'm from that neck of the woods.
Yeah. And the only actual fantasy question we got, and you guys are more than welcome to comment in questions in the future. Happy to answer them. But Giuseppe saying, dealing with Dynasty, the commission trying to make the rookie draft a snake draft. Of course, the year I have the first pick. What are your guys' thoughts? I absolutely disagree with this, Giuseppe. The rookie drafts have to be the worst. And of course, you can trade out from there, but like that's the whole point of being the worst pick. You get pick number 1 and 13 and 27, not pick 1 and like 36 or whatever, 25. It should not be a snake draft. He probably won and is now trying to put the rules to favor himself, but that is horrific. I don't even know that they give you the option to do that, but if they do, you shouldn't take it. So you can clip this, you can send it to him. Commissioner, that's corrupt. That's horrible. If it was like a first year draft, yes, like you're establishing the league, you're drafting veterans and rookies, sure. But once you get to the leagues where it's just rookie drafts, that cannot be a snake draft. It should never be a snake draft. That's corrupt if he's trying to do that, or just blind foolery. And either way, it shouldn't happen. So, Commish, please reconsider for not just Giuseppe's sake, for your league's integrity's sake. I wouldn't even stay in that league, Giuseppe, honestly, if I was you, and that actually happens.
Agree.
All right. Sweet. So we lampooned your commissioner for you, Giuseppe. If we can do anything else for you, let us know. But guys, this was a blast. First ever fantasy football morning show where we try out a 3-hour or so radio show style feel. I thought it was great. I hope you guys enjoyed. You can feel free to leave any questions and comments to how we can improve. But we're over on YouTube at Roto Street Journal. I'm at Roto Street Wolf. On Twitter, rotostreetjournal.com is where you can find my rankings, my update log, which is brand new, where I jot down my thoughts as I update the rankings so you know why, who changed, and why they changed. Debuting that this year, I think it's a very valuable piece of content as well. Working on the draft guide. It should be up by training camp, if not the end of next week. So you guys can all look forward to that. And we'll get on that regular recording schedule. I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, 8 to 11-ish would be a phenomenal time to just kind of have this morning show for you guys. And we'll figure out the time that works best for me in truth. But this was a blast. I love this drafting too. We'll have, we've got a good brainstorm. It's not going to be all food related.
No, I got more.
We've got a lot of interesting takes that we're going to cover in these end of draft drafts. So sweet. All right, guys, in a world full of fancy sheep, be the wolf. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. And thank you again so much. Bye.
Later.